Hello, everybody. Welcome to another stream. My name, of course, is Alma Hexblade, your head guildmaster and chief barista. Happy Friday, everybody. You made it to another week. I'm very proud of you. And for your reward in succeeding in another quest, which is the very grueling challenge of making it to the weekend, I've brought to you educational content. And me, because I mean, like, let's not understate how cool I am. I need a button for the zoom-ins. I need a button for me being stupid with zoom-ins. Hello, everybody. How was your week? I got really into Tetris, and then I lost it all in a very, let's put it this way. I was incredibly decaffeinated instead of my usual caffeination, and I basically botched all the gains I got from the Tetris stream. So expect another one next week. As I recover my elo. Yeah. The only person to blame for that is myself, honestly. So, you know, like, yeah. Anyway, we're not here about that. We're here for learning. Or me. Whichever one you care for. You're here for either learning or me, whichever one you care for. So, without further ado, I think what was the topics that I had today? Oh, shoot, what was it? Let me read off the list because all of these are accurate. It's what? Frozen pizza, birds, using power tools wrong, rocket fuel, Soviet theme parks, and more. Because I bring the best content for you guys. Okay. So this one is, we're starting with the rocket fuel one, apparently, because I put the order of these wrong. So this is from Integza. They're a very lovely channel. They do lots of rocket stuff, engineering things. They also don't like tomatoes, which is a little bit of a scar against them, but I'm honestly not going to hold it against them. So let me just make sure that there's captions, and make sure that the captions are actually readable. And we will get started. Hold on. Let me just... Why can't I set default colors? Like, why can't it just be green? Give me the animated subtitles. Anyway. This one's from Intex. It's about solid rocket propellant. And rocket propellant powered by electricity. Honestly, it's kind of cool. Oh, wait. Hold on. I was wondering why the music... I was wondering why you guys weren't hearing anything. I forgot a setting. Hold on. There we go.
Oh my God.
How do you throttle solid propellant?
There.
Well, you just tell it to
It's
not
struggle
go,
forever.
right?
And by this I mean this pink thing over here that looks like a Turkish delight. I wouldn't eat it though because it's not candy. It's something called an ESP, or electric solid propellant, which is a pretty descriptive name because it's a rocket propellant that you can ignite using electricity. Now, you might be thinking, a lot of propellants can be ignited with a spark, so what? No. No sparks involved. This propellant can be ignited with a simple voltage, like a battery. Not only that, it can only be ignited with a voltage. You can hit it, burn it, and nothing happens. If you didn't know any better, you would
Imagine
think
how
it's a piece of
wild,
rubber.
imagine how
But here
cool
comes
and
the
safe
best
this
part.
is.
If you apply more voltage,
Bzz,
it burns
bzz,
faster.
bzz, bzz.
And if you stop applying a voltage,
Bzz.
it stops burning. Completely.
This video was brought to you by OnShape. So, on my last video I tested a bunch of solid rocket propellants, and while doing that I was browsing through the Wikipedia page dedicated to solid propellants. And there's a lot of them.
You know, like you do on a normal Saturday night, right? Am I right, everybody? Ha 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 ha.
Black powder, zinc sulfur propellants.
Because we are normal people who are allowed to be around rockets.
But in essence, they are all the same. A solid explosive that starts burning when exposed to a flame or a spark that you can't really stop until it burns all the way through.
Okay, I just lied to you. Not all of them are the same. If you browse all the way to the bottom of the page, you'll find something called electric solid propellants. which are a family of high-performance plastisol solid propellants that can be ignited and throttled by the application of electric current. Important part. Have you ever heard about piezoelectric materials, like those crystals they put in lighters? If you hit them, you get electricity. Well, an ESP is a pyroelectric material, which means that if you give it electricity, you get fire. If you're not really getting why I'm getting so excited about this, well, just give me a little second so I can explain a little more.
I like fire.
When talking about rocket engines, we have three types: solid rocket engines, liquid rocket engines, and hybrid rocket engines. Hybrid rocket engines suck, so let's forget about them for a second.
Cool.
Solid rocket engines are easy to build, cheap to manufacture, and pretty powerful. They were, for example, used in the boosters for the space shuttle. The problem with this kind of rocket engine is that you can't control them, or stop them for that matter. And all it takes is a small spark to ignite a gigantic rocket booster that is basically an enormous firecracker. That's why most companies like SpaceX use liquid rocket engines. They are a nightmare to build, extremely complex and unstable, but you can control them and stop them if you need to.
Not gonna lie, watching I keep freaking out about a rocket landing like that, and I'm like, it's still the coolest thing in my mind. It looks so cool. It looks like you're just putting the footage in reverse.
Do you now get where I'm going with this? We're talking about a solid rocket engine. You can stop and control. It's like the best of both worlds. So, I did a little bit more research and I found out that the best electric solid propellant is called HIPEP, which is a mixture of an oxidizer called hydroxylammonium nitrate, that's a mouthful, and polyvinyl alcohol. Basically, you mix these two compounds together and you get the magic propellant. Seems simple enough, right? But it's not. For starters, there's only a handful of companies that make Han, which makes it pretty hard to get. But companies that make HIPEP, there's only one in the entire world, and it's called DSSP. They're based in Reno. I really want to get my hands on some IPAP, so I paid them a visit.
Okay, Wayne, I came all this way. Can I buy iPad from you?
Can you buy HIPEP from, if you have a ATF license, you
HIPEP.
can.
What is that?
An ATF license is issued by the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Agency, and it allows you to buy energetic materials that are, I guess, not for consumer use necessarily.
I'm guessing it's not as easy as getting a fishing license.
No, there's a little bit more background they look into for the explosives licenses.
I guess you need a background
So I
check.
can't buy IPAP,
Damn.
not with a permit anyway. By the way, that was Wayne Saka, the founder of DSSP and the guy that basically developed IPAP.
If you look in the literature, people have been trying to use electrical power with AP propellant for years, but nothing's ever happened with it. You know,
doesn't it work with it?
there's no conductivity. The hand oxidizer actually has a.
I hate that it looks so yummy. It looks either like a weird sausage or it's like a watermelon Big Jolly Rancher.
Activity, something about like seawater or something like that. So it's not.
I wouldn't say
metal
Jello, but it
conductive,
still looks very
but it's got
dangerously
enough,
edible.
Electrical conductivity to actually do something with. We have two types of reactions that can go on. We have the chemical combustion that can go on. Then we actually have the ionization, where we actually put way too much electrical power into the propellant. And so what we're doing is creating a plasma, what you were being shot at on the E-squibs. That's actually a plasma coming out of there rather than the actual combustion coming out. When you ionize a propellant, you're really ionizing very little material. You're probably ionizing maybe 100 times less material. In one case, you're not really burning it. You're pulling it into its basic components and turning those into a plasma and ions. Yeah, you're putting a fuel additive in there. That fuel additive is coming in as electrical power.
But is that easy? Like, if we're talking about like two components here, if I got some hand in my hands and I have some polyvinyl alcohol, I just mix them and I have a propellant that I can be ignited with electricity?
No. There's you're gonna have to see the whole process there. Yeah, that wouldn't do you any good there.
So Wayne was pretty confident that I would never be able to replicate his propellant. He was in fact so confident, he asked his head chemist to explain the entire process to me.
Okay, so Wayne told me you're basically the chef here.
Yep.
What is the process? Like, can you talk a little bit about the process?
Yeah, so our main
She's the
ingredient
cook.
is Han, which is a liquid.
She's
and it's the
cooking.
oxidizer. And so we mix it in a beaker. Then we add all the other ingredients that have to dissolve. Then we add the polyvinyl alcohol. And then once it's all mixed together, we pull it under vacuum. Once it's not bubbling anymore, we pull it off, and it's kind of like warm honey.
Yeah.
And then we can suck it up in a syringe and cast it into any shapes that we want.
But I feel like you're fooling me because that seems so simple.
Why is
That
it
seems
not
that seems
watermelon
something
color?
like I could do.
Yeah, as long as you have your ingredients right, the first ingredient. So we have to make the Han.
Would you say that's like a hard part of the process?
Yes, that's the hard part of the process. We built and designed a microreactor to make the Han. So you flow two ingredients together and then they react in the microreactor. So you're mixing just small amounts because it's very exothermic, so it creates a lot of heat.
Oh.
You told me to watch my video in which I make flash cotton.
Yeah.
Would you say like you're nitrating the
You're nitrating hydroxylamine.
hydroxylamine because
Yes.
you want the... But what do you get in the end?
Hydroxylammonium nitrate.
Once it's made, it's super safe, right?
Yeah, it's like a piece of rubber. You can whack it with a hammer. You can take a torch to it.
You can shot it. You
Yep.
can try to burn it,
I
Yep.
want to eat it.
Nothing.
which is unheard
And I
of.
know I shouldn't.
Explosives or propellants.
It looks too edible.
Anyone can play with it, even a kid, and nothing would happen, right?
Right.
She is not kidding. This propellant is super safe and super powerful, which I know sounds like...
Hold up, I just thought of something really stupid. So, if this propellant is triggered by an electric current, technically, could you light it in your hands by generating static electricity and then touching it? And then it just explodes? For like a really brief period. That's technically, that could happen, right? It's not like I'm ever going to find out, but it sounds like a very interesting idea.
like a contradiction, but look at this. I don't even know if the camera can catch this, but it's super bright and super loud, but also super safe. Okay, I just need you to put your hand here. This is a laser, and you're gonna tell me if this hurts or not. Okay? There's not too much to it.
Hi.
Did it hurt?
No.
Karara-san! Come here. I need your hand here. I'm gonna put it very close. Don't worry. Did it hurt?
No.
You can go. Katarina-san! I want you to open your hand. It's been a while since you've been in the videos.
Yes, yes.
Now,
Spooking
I'm
people
gonna
with
shine the laser on your hand.
spooking
and I want,
people
I
with
want you
lies.
to tell me afterwards if it hurts or not.
Okay.
Okay? Did it hurt?
No.
I like how she went down towards the ground, like she was just gonna go there and just fall on the ground.
I solved most of my problems with 3D printing, even love-related ones, if I had any. The other day, the flushing
Valid.
plug on my toilet broke, so I had to 3D print a new one. And to 3D print it, I had to 3D model it. And to 3D model it, I had to use a 3D modeling software. That's where Onshape comes in.
I need
The
to
problem
learn
with most
modeling software
softwares
for
is that
stuff.
they are fixed on your computer. Once you leave the comfort of your house or your company, you lose
I
your
can make
ability to design
things.
toilet plugs. Because Onshape is a BrowserCAD application, you can be on the
Oh, wait,
Bahamas,
snap, it's
redesigning your
BrowserCAD?
toilet plug with a borrowed laptop. You can share files, and you can even run simulations to make sure your toilet plug can handle the stress. I highly recommend the engineers and product developers watching to consider using Onshape for their business. And you can try it for free at onshape.pro/Intexa. Use the link in the description down below. By doing that, you're not just helping yourself, but also helping this channel. And to that I have to say...
My name is Jeff.
Back to the video.
As-
This is what Wayne calls an e-squib. He couldn't tell me the raw propellant, but he could tell me these. These are basically micro thrusters that were used in a satellite in 2014. These are not burning. I know
Huh.
it seems like it, but they're not burning. Not chemically anyway. These are basically plasma engines, but a good one. Because they produce such a loud bang and such a bright, intense light, they're also the perfect solution for something else. Would you say you're not a big fan of using CGI to replicate the muzzle flash?
It's definitely not as realistic looking, people can tell. Or if you make it really good looking, it's very expensive to do it in CGI. So we've been working with DSSP. They are working on creating a realistic muzzle flash that is not super quiet but not loud. Like you can be around it without ear protection, and it creates a projectile looking forward moving visual effect that is creating light and sound. With this tech, there's no danger to it, so you can just, as soon as you call cut, and the director can give their notes, we reset, action, and we're ready to go again.
This is the perfect solution for a muzzle flash simulator, and I think it's gonna revolutionize the movie industry. But I'm more of a rocket kind of guy. So my question is, can SpaceX use this to make a full-scale rocket?
When you go to scale it up to something like the size of a space launch booster, it's not going to work that way. It's just, it can't be turned off once you've got something that's burning that big. So we're talking about, a smaller effect here that can be done. So we're talking more about satellite thrusters rather than boosters.
That is kind of disappointing, isn't it?
Big
I mean, yeah, you can still use IPEP to make cool RC rockets, but not a rocket that is going to take us to Mars. The problem is the fact that it's solid. And because it's solid, you can't make a full-scale rocket. Well, what if you make it liquid? So, I lied to you again. Not all liquid rocket engines are super complex. There's one type that is pretty simple, and you can still throttle them and stop them at any time. I'm talking about monopropellant rockets.
With monopropellant rockets, you have a single liquid that reacts with a catalyst.
What does mono-repellent mean, class? Mono means one, and propellant means propellant.
Generate a lot of gas, like for example, high concentration hydrogen peroxide. I actually made a rocket engine using this concept.
Even better than hydrogen peroxide is a liquid called hydrazine, which is a propellant that is super efficient, extremely powerful, but has a tiny detail that makes it, how can I put this nicely, undesired.
Hydrazine is a material that it's just so toxic, ppb levels of toxicity that
Oh, okay. It kills you. Gotcha.
kill you. When we were working
Gotcha.
with the Navy on our liquid propellant, we asked them about, well, why don't they just use hydrazine for the missiles on the Navy ships? And they said, well, they went through the analysis of what would happen if there was ever a leak of a hydrazine system on a Navy ship. The emergency procedure would be to abandon ship.
That's how insanely toxic hydrazine is.
Actually,
if they get an hydrazine leak in the ship, they just go, well,
bail.
I guess we lost the ship.
There goes the ship.
GSSP actually developed a new liquid monopropellant called JAM, which is as powerful as hydrazine.
You don't even do that for like nuclear stuff. I mean, thankfully you haven't had to, but also still.
But much safer. If you touch it,
Jam.
the worst that can happen is you get a rash. Nothing too serious. It also doesn't react with fire and can be ignited with electricity, just like IPEP.
You can also use a metallic catalyst to make it burn in large quantities. A catalyst is just like a mash of hot material. You heat it up until like 400 degrees Celsius, nothing too extreme, and you flow the propellant through it, which means you only really need a valve to control the entire rocket.
Now, here comes the best part of all of this. Imagine you build a rocket using JAM. At first, you need to
Jam.
run it through the catalyst because, gravity, the atmosphere,
Jam rocket.
resistance, all of that. But once you are in outer space, you can just ionize some droplets of it using electricity, so you can incrementally increase your speed in the most efficient way possible. And because JAM doesn't really
Jam.
react with fire, there's no risk of explosions. Soon enough, Wayne is going to be able to sell JAM to the outside of the US without the need of a license. And you can bet I'm just waiting for it. As soon as I can get my hands on some JAM, I'm going to 3D print a prototype and get my own electric rocket engine.
I'm still stuck
If you
on
have
it
a
in my
3D
head.
printer,
It's like,
well, I'm going to
he
share my
calls it
files with you
jam.
guys so you can 3D
Uh-huh.
print one as well. On the other hand, if you don't have a 3D printer, well, I can help with that as well. On my last video, I gave away a 3D printer to the most liked comment suggesting a theme for a future video. The winner was Jay. That's a short name. If you also want to win a 3D printer, all you need to do is subscribe to the channel, leave a like on this video, and post a comment suggesting a theme for a future video. The most liked comment will receive a brand new 3D printer. Well, this is everything for today. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, tomatoes are disgusting. See ya!
He's like Betel, but an engineer. Okay. So, that was our first topic. Was rockets. Let me see here. What was the second thing I said? I want to do this in order, minus the rocket propellant, because I know I use that later. Tomatoes are okay. They're good in soup. They're good in sandwiches. Okay. Next topic. I was doing these in order of how I thought about them. So now we're going to be taking a small lunch break with the history of frozen pizza.
Frozen pizza.
Fun fact, did you know Jill does not like pizza with toppings? It's suspicious to me. But I understand her.
One of America's greatest culinary inventions. Foodies will scoff, as they always do, but when you were young and Mom was too exhausted to whip up an elaborate meal, a frozen pie thrown into the oven at 425 degrees for 15 minutes was the answer to everyone's prayers.
Abbondanza!
Today on Weird History Food, we're gonna talk about the history of frozen pizza.
Pizza.
But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel and let us know in the comments below what other unconventional foods you'd like to know more about. Now, no need to preheat your oven. This video is coming out hot and ready.
Caesars.
To truly understand the history of frozen pizza, it's important to have a tiny bit of basic knowledge on the pizza's origins, before
That's a
there was a
good-looking
reason to
pizza.
freeze them. While hard flatbread, doused with oil and scraps of whatever food was laying around the hut, has been around since the Neolithic era, the modern pizza, the kind with various cheeses and tomatoes that you and I are familiar with, didn't appear until the early 18th century in Naples, Italy. These new, warm, fresh cheese and tomato pizzas were an instant hit amongst the poor working-class Neapolitans who invented them. They combined the efficiency of sandwiches with the cheesy tomato-ness of Italian food. And since most people of Naples stayed within their city limits, pizza remained a regional delicacy for decades. But all that changed when Italians began immigrating to America in 1880. As the first wave of immigrants settled in the northeastern U.S., Gennaro Lombardi opened America's first pizzeria in 1905. But it didn't start out as a pizzeria. Lombardi's was originally a neighborhood grocery store. One day, one of Lombardi's employees, fellow Italian immigrant Antonio Totono Pero, suggested they try to sell fresh pizzas. Pero's 5-cent large pizzas became so popular so fast, Lombardi swapped his building's grocery store license for a restaurant license, and Lombardi's Groceries became Lombardi's Pizzeria. Soon, pizzerias started popping up all over the East Coast. Most of them were opened by former Lombardi's pizza chefs, including Pero, who all wanted their own slice of the proverbial pie. Of course, not every American got to experience the first wave of Italian pizza. Unless you lived
Keep
in
on
one of New
somehow
York's 5
Puerto Rico
boroughs,
fact will be
chances
in
are you were probably
Maybe.
eating pickled vegetables, grains, and if you were lucky, gamey meat. Pizza was just a twinkle in most rural Americans' eyes. That is until 1928, when two General Motors engineers, Thomas Midgley Jr. and Charles Franklin Kettering, changed home refrigeration forever with their invention of Freon. This refrigerating gas allowed
Where did
General
GM come
Motors
from?
to introduce their new domestic Frigidaire refrigerator-freezer combo in 1940 to the home market.
Yo.
Before that, if
Freezers.
you wanted to extend the life of perishables, you stored them in a big wooden chest which was internally cooled with perpetually melting blocks of ice. With modern home refrigerators beginning to fly off American showroom floors, mom-and-pop pizzerias got the jump on the home pizza game first, long before anyone thought of selling frozen pies. In June of 1950, the New York Times published an article about a Boston pizzeria selling pre-made, ready-to-cook pizzas. The pizzeria did everything except throw the pie into the oven, and then customers could bake the raw pie at home. Soon, New York pizzerias were selling pre-made, unbaked pizzas too. And with that, one of America's first food fads was born. But Joseph Bucci, a Philadelphia pizzeria owner, wanted to take his unbaked, ready-to-cook pizza game one step further, and he filed the first U.S. patent for frozen pizza. He called it the method for making frozen pizza. Once Bucci figured out how to freeze a pizza without the sauce seeping into the dough while still keeping its original taste and texture, other independent pizza makers took his lead, and small runs of regional frozen pizza brands started popping up all over local grocery stores.
So now we got
The very
pizza.
first pizzaiolos to master Bucci's frozen pizza technique was Jack DeLuca of East Cleveland, Ohio.
God, hold on. I just want to hold on. Wait, I need to go back for like 10 seconds. Okay, listen to the first sentence this guy says, but imagine it being JoJo.
One of the very first pizzaiolos to master Bucci's frozen pizza technique was
Doesn't that straight up sound like some kind of dumb JoJo gimmick? It almost sounds like Spin.
Jack DeLuca of East Cleveland, Ohio, which had a very large first-generation Italian-American community at the time. Oh, and since you're wondering, pizzaiolo is Italian for a professional pizza chef, and it's also a fun thing to shout at your Domino's delivery driver. After experimenting with different ways on how to preserve his pizzas for months at a time, DeLuca perfected how to freeze pizza. Suddenly, he was selling $20,000 worth of pizza every month in 1952. Converted for inflation, that would be over $223,000 a month in today's economy. Oh. That's a lot of dough. All that said, it was
Man
Rose
got
and Jim
rich.
Totino who took the frozen pizza game to new heights. Totino, that name probably hit your ears like a Pavlovian dog whistle. Once their Minneapolis
Pizza
pizzeria
rolls,
couldn't
pizza
keep up with their
rolls.
customers' demand for over 500 pizzas a day, the
French fried shrimp. Puritan Cafe. What? Also, 7-Up is here.
Their Minneapolis pizzeria couldn't keep up with their customers' demand for over 500 pizzas a day.
I
The
think-
husband and wife team built a large frozen pizza plant in 1962.
What's up,
While
everybody?
Bucci,
I
DeLuca,
think
and
dogs
other
should vote.
independent frozen pizza manufacturers might be able to produce a couple
then I get
hundred
kicked
pies
from
on
the-
a good
and then I
day.
get kicked from
Totino's
second
could produce hundreds of pies an hour. To be honest, pizza really lends itself to factory production. 13 years later, after becoming America's top-selling frozen pizza manufacturer, Rose and Jim Totino sold their brand to the Pillsbury Company in
Aw, they
1975
sold out?
for $22 million. With the acquisition
Aw,
of
man.
Totino's, Pillsbury became the instant leader of the frozen pizza industry. But their monopoly didn't last for long.
Totino's.
Big players like the
Totino's.
Schwan Food Company out of Minnesota bought the Kansas-based Tony's Frozen Pizza in 1970 and Red Baron's Frozen Pizza in 1975 to take a big slice out of the frozen pie market. Kraft also got in the game when they bought the Tombstone pizza brand, which was just starting to make some serious headway in the independent market as well. By the way, what's with the frozen pizza brands having weirdly sinister names? Tombstone was the product of a pair of brothers, Pep and Ron Simic, who co-owned the
Jan.
Tombstone Bar in Medford, Wisconsin. When the Simics noticed how popular their in-house pizzas had become, they made frozen versions and shipped them around the country.
No, seriously, why do they name them weird things? Like, we got Red Baron. Like, the only one that's left I could think about is Totino's, which is just a family name. Why Tombstone?
By the time the Simic brothers sold their pizza to Kraft, it was the third most popular frozen pizza in the country. All three brands are still
no,
spinning pizzas
Kraft.
today, with Red Baron hanging on as one of America's top-selling brands.
I have not had a Red Baron pizza. Oh, here we go. Hold on. I need to take a picture of Ronald Reagan holding a block of cheese. What is this from? Why is Ronald Reagan holding a block of cheese?
It was around this time in the early 70s when frozen pizza got caught up in bureaucratic red tape and shady strong-arm politics,
wouldn't he? I
which
mean,
almost crippled the
I
market.
don't know.
Alarmed at the increased use of cheaper imitation cheese in frozen pizzas, the Wisconsin Cheesemakers Association tried to force the United States Department of Agriculture, you know them as the USDA, to set regulations on how much real cheese had to be on a frozen pizza.
Oh, Wisconsin got
The
pissed.
correct
That makes
answer is
sense.
all of it, right? All of it should be real cheese. Actually, no. To keep costs down, frozen pizza manufacturers would use less cheese. So it was in the U.S. government's interest to force laws that insisted that every frozen pizza had to consist of 12% real cheese. 12%? That's it.
Okay.
Still tastes pretty good. This mainly happened because America's annual dairy surplus was beginning to stockpile and go bad. And the aforementioned USDA was
There it
already
is.
spending nearly $3 billion a year to buy excess cheese. from
Yeah!
In short, the American cheese
cheese.
industry wanted a slice
happening
of the
again.
frozen pizza industry's share of the booming wealth. Those cheesy, delicious bastards. When American consumers realized their frozen pizzas tasted different and began to rise in price, The USDA immediately received 5,600 letters from angry customers. The consensus of the letters
Just 5,600? Man, people need to be more involved with politics.
was that American frozen pizza lovers did not want their pizzas regulated by the government, with rising costs being their highest concern. After similar strong-arm tactics were implemented by the National Milk Producers Federation in the early 80s, the USDA's enforced cheese tactics eventually faded away, ensuring that frozen pizza manufacturers could keep the cheese out of their pies and their prices low.
I'm straight up trying to figure out... Wait, what does that, like... Okay, what's the not cheese in the cheese pizza? It all like... I never understood the concept of, like, processed fake cheese. Where's the fake in fake cheese? Where's the fake part of fake cheese?
In addition to being besieged by the USDA's non-regulated cheese distribution fiasco,
Although, Superman branded cheese spread is kind of funny. It's probably a milk-based product that doesn't meet the definition of cheese. Hold on. Wait, we got an example here. Let's read through it really quickly. Pasteurized process imitation cheese spread. Contains part skim cheese, American cheese, non-fat dry milk, condensed skim milk, cheese, whey solids. We could see if there's a video on it. Probably, yeah. Disodium phosphate, which I'm guessing is preserving agent, salt, phosphoric or citric acid. Okay, artificially colored, maximum moisture, minimum fat. Is it like a milk fat? Is it like a milk fat thing, or imitation mozzarella is used for? Huh. So it's just a. Okay, so it's a. Like chemical filler thing. Honestly, it doesn't sound. Yeah, no, it doesn't sound too bad. The reason why it doesn't sound too bad is that we're eating it. So, it better be not kill it. It better not kill me. Okay, so there's just more stuff in it to stretch the cheese out. That was weird.
the frozen pizza market of the 60s and 70s had grown stagnant. Every brand featured a flat and round slab of dough with tomato sauce, cheese, and basic toppings like pepperoni, sausage,
It also
and
has
standard
things real
veggies.
cheese. I mean,
And
yeah,
while
it has
boring
milk.
Pizza has the advantage of still being pizza. Variety is the spicy meatball of life. It wouldn't be until the 80s that the frozen pizza market would see radical changes, thanks to Stouffer's Pizza, an independent frozen pizza manufacturer out of Ohio. Known
Pizza.
mostly for its frozen lasagna,
Zellius,
mac
long
and
time
cheese,
no
meatloaf,
talk.
and
Hello.
ravioli. Stouffer's popularized the oh-so-delicious French bread pizza at the start of the 1980s.
If we'd stuck with tradition, it wouldn't be so good.
According to legend, Stouffer's new pizza was invented/stolen after one of their hungry employees stumbled out of a late-night dance club and found Bob Petrolos selling his unique French bread pizza out of a nearby food truck.
Time zones and being
That
busy
Stouffer's
fair.
employee
Yeah,
took Petrolos's
true.
French bread crust idea back to the office, and suddenly, Stouffer's was in the frozen pizza business. Honestly, one would expect most pizza innovations come on the back end of a desperate hangover. Several years later, in 1983, Paul Marriage and his brother David invented Hot Pockets, a twist on the pizza with roots tied to the calzone, another dish that originated in Naples about 100 years after they invented the modern pizza. The new trick with Hot Pockets was that the Marriage brothers were able to design a wraparound packaging sleeve along with a special dough formula that created a flaky crust when thrown into a microwave. Bagel bites came onto the frozen pizza scene a couple of years after Hot Pockets in 1985. Florida businessmen Bob Mosier and Stan Garzinski invested $20,000 into the simple idea of mini bagels topped with pizza sauce, cheese, and bits of pepperoni and sausage. A simple
What's
yet
your opinion on
brilliant
having
idea
pizza in a D&D
like windshield
game?
wipers, for
It's
instance.
too anachronistic, but
Thanks
kind of
to
awesome.
a catchy jingle.
Listen, basically, you can't. Okay, I'm okay with pizza in D&D as long as you don't call it pizza because the name origin isn't there. You have to call it a flatbread.
That dared parents to feed their children pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza at supper time. When pizza's on a bagel, you can eat pizza anytime.
Yeah.
plus the fact that the brand convinced popular pro skateboarder Tony Hawk to be the official Bagel Bites spokesperson.
How do I remember
Kosher
these
and
ads?
Brzezinski's $20,000 gamble paid
Well, some
off,
of them.
making their invention the top-selling frozen pizza product among kids under 16. Of course, Hot Pockets and the Bagel Bites could not exist without Pillsbury's Susceptor, an invention that wasn't improved
Sus.
until 1980, years before all of those novelty microwavable snacks made the scene. Pillsbury's Susceptors are those glossy gray plastic pieces of lightweight cardboard that go beneath your microwavable pizza and burn the out of your fingers every single time. Not only did they make Hot Pockets and Bagel Bites possible, but also
Pizza out
reduced
of
the cooking
microwaves.
time for a frozen pizza
Well, I mean, it's
from
Bagel
a quarter of an
Bites.
hour to a few minutes.
Also, I did not know that Hot Pockets were pizza adjacent. I mean, I know they had like pizza flavors and stuff. I didn't know they were made as a pizza variation. That was interesting. It's kind of like it's kind of like looking at evolution in like a regular sense and like seeing that these two incredibly different species have a common ancestor. I'm like, okay, so it was like, so you're telling me that a Hot Pocket and an Uncrustable have the same origin food, which is a pizza. How?
Frozen pizza would never be the same again. French bread
Apparently
pizza,
pizza is
Hot
an
Pockets, and Bagel
etymology.
Bites are
Oh,
all
neat.
whimsical riffs on frozen pizza. And there's no question that these kid-oriented snacks carried the frozen pie industry throughout the touch-and-go 80s. However, the most important innovation to rock the industry happened in 1995. This was the year that Kraft Foods reinvented the frozen pizza game forever with their new
Pita,
line of DiGiorno
bread.
frozen pizza, which featured a patented rising crust. Don't bother looking for the DiGiorno family, though. The Kraft marketing department baked up the Italian-sounding surname to convince their pizza-eating customers the brand had Italian roots. And if the authentic-sounding
Yeah, I
DiGiorno
say,
name
guessing
didn't
me
convince
is
Americans
pizzeria
to
in
give
the
this new
snap.
pizza a try, well, the commercials like this one certainly did. Ads featuring tantalizing visions of plump, rising golden brown crust had everyone convinced that DiGiorno's pizza was as good, if not better than, the pie delivered by your local pizzeria. And in some cases, it actually was. Both because DiGiorno's is pretty good and some delivery is
What?
pretty bad.
What is this
Along
ad?
with additives such as gums, protein film formers, and surfactants, all of which help dough retain its structure during freezing and thawing, DiGiorno's innovative crust included oils, yeast, and baking soda to strengthen the pizza's
Etymology of
foundation,
it, I know
helping it stay
linguists are
hydrated
cool, I
rather
think it's
than
got-
drying out. And thanks to the combination of savvy marketing and a unique rising crust, DiGiorno not only became the top-selling frozen pizza brand in the world within a year, but its sales still account for nearly half of all frozen pizzas sold today. So, what's in store for the future of frozen pizza? It's hard to predict. Currently, there's a big push to make frozen pizza healthy with things like cauliflower crust, which seems a bit counterintuitive to the entire ethos of a frozen pizza. Listen, some things just weren't meant to be. Frogs were not meant to fly, and pizza is never supposed to feel like the responsible meal
Goodfellas.
choice. But until some brilliant mind at a
Wait, there's a
frozen food
pizza brand
manufacturer
called
can recreate the
Goodfellas?
Pizza rehydration scene in the future too for the consumer
Oh, that
market,
sounds so
we're
good.
Probably going to be waiting a while for the next frozen pizza revolution. So
That
what
sounds
do you
good
think?
and dumb.
What's your favorite frozen pizza? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our Weird History Food.
Okay, I want to quickly expand about the pizza in D&D comment. It can only exist if there is a actual in-lore explanation for why in the world it's called a pizza, right? Like, okay, let's say, I don't know, it's from a far-off country called like Pixalo or something, and the Pixians at Pixalo made their region, like, had a competition for the regional food, and it was made by this this young mother who didn't have enough to make a giant, fancy pastry or baking things like that, and like any other fancy pastry chefs. So she just kind of got some dough, got some sauce, put some of her leftovers, and tried to submit it in hopes that she would get it rich or do well with her family. And then it got super fucking popular, and everyone started eating it. And they're like, "Oh, what do you call this?" And she's like, "I have no fucking idea." I'm like, if it's for the Pixalo food competition, I suppose it's called a pizza. Let's call it pizza." And everyone's like, "Oh, pizza!" And then pizza got super popular, and it won. And now it's the national food of the country of Pixalo, and that's where your character comes from. I just made that up on the fucking spot, and that's a really good lore. Keep in mind, in Forgotten Realms, there's literally a town called Pembroke, so we act like all the corgis come from. No. Pembroke is from no. That's actually not true. That is actually that's misinformation. Pembroke does not have all the corgis there. They're obviously around the rest of the region because, that's how the world works. But Pembroke is actually the reason why it's so well known for corgis is that its royalty is all corgis. It is a kingdom of corgis for corgis, run by corgis, and also humans and other races happen to live there. But that's the main notable reason why Pembroke is known for its corgis. Hire me for your lore ideas. All you need to do is just take some fogweed and you'll get some great stories. In ours, we have gnomes riding dire corgis. Well, I mean, yeah, you could totally have dire corgis. It's just you have to acknowledge the fact that they're not necessarily from Pembroke, or they're from, an outside region. Maybe, historically, they might have been, you have the regular set of corgis living around the Pembroke region, and then you maybe have a group of explorers who went and go out to find other lands and stuff, and they became a separate separate corgi populace. Maybe they got captured or something by the gnomes, and then were domesticated into being their pets and stuff, and rideable animals, and that's where the dire corgis come from. I'm just filled with ideas, if you guys couldn't figure out. Anyway, teaching a Dremel tool to helicopter. I'm gonna write a 5-pager of out the origin of the word pizza in the realms. I'm sure the GL would be like, This would be one of the shorter things I've said. This is the using power tools incorrectly category.
It can cut through metal, cable, chain, hot dog, even bananas. We're going to take this angle grinder. Not angle grinder, this is a straight grinder. It literally it's straight rather than having a gearbox turning 90 degrees. We're going to take this cordless rotary tool and
writing
turn it
dumb
into a
lore
flying
is
machine.
my
Are we
favorite
gonna do any
thing.
flying machine? No, because this can fly as an airplane very easily. I think I can do that in a day. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do a challenge. I'm going to take this rotary tool and turn it into a helicopter. At the request of all you fools commenting on the last power tool video. So what's inside this cordless rotary tool? Inside this tool we have a brushed motor, mechanical, electrical speed controller doohickey, and we have a lithium battery. All these ingredients look very similar to what you find in a toy helicopter. Funny thing is, if you look over here, someone actually made a drone-powered Dremel thing. I actually discussed this with my friends.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And they did that.
Oh my god,
Now,
what?
For them, though, they deleted the speed controller, they deleted the battery, they only kept the motor. So I don't really count that as a real flying Dremel tool, because you're really just using these.
I remember. I know that Nyanner's video.
So for this
or
challenge,
the Nyanner's clip
we're
show.
actually going to use the stock speed controller.
The stock battery, stock motor, be a stock Dremel tool that we're going to try and fly.
First thing we're going to do is construct a pair of landing skids, and then see if this stock Dremel tool can fly.
Man, I miss these innocent days.
Powerful. Now, unfortunately,
Those
I'm
were
going
the
to use
innocent
this
days?
brand new Dremel tool I bought because it has a brand new motor for the most amount of power. Unfortunately, they went to this doohickey rotary dial, which is harder to interface with. So we're going to use my old Dremel that's destroyed many projects in the past, and we're going to fly that piece of junk around.
Powering on.
All right, go.
I like that it's almost trying to take off and failing.
It's not quite enough thrust with this prop. Let's try a little bit bigger propeller. It looks like it's trying to fly though. Go. It's not centered. This crap is, it's gonna vibrate like crazy. Let's try this. This is a cool looking. It's too thick. Rust. So now we have very big 10-inch propeller. This is going to be better. But that'll burn itself up. Yeah.
Tie a balloon to it. I mean, oh god.
Yeah, I forgot. It really has no kill switch. So that works. It flies. Yeah. But this is not how a helicopter really behaves. Now, fortunately, a long time ago, I designed this rubber band powered helicopter, which has its stability requirements because this is like a normal propeller blade, and helicopters do not have normal propeller blades on the top. They have very complex mechanical systems to deal with stability. However, the bare minimum that you need is like a fly bar for a very mechanical kind of control. So I'm going to take this thing we made a long time ago, scale it up bigger, and slap it on. And then we're gonna put a tail boom on it so it actually has like the proper torque management for the rotor blades and stuff. Then we're gonna try it again. Wow, we got a fuselage that threads perfectly.
3D printers have been a revolution for shit posting engineers, yeah.
And now we have.
See, the greatest thing and fear, and the greatest thing and the biggest curse about 3D printing is that if you have the ability to design literally anything in CAD software, you can print it and make it be a real thing. There are a lot of shit posts in like lots of 3D galleries that I see for stuff to print. For example, there was a really big interesting trend of people just posting like models with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's head on them. Hold on. Like, watch. Look. Also, you said you were searching for Kirby? Look at this. Kirby Fume Extractor. The secret that we don't know about is Kirby will die of lead poisoning. Anyway. Like, watch. The Rock. The Rock as some Crocs. The Rock as a lobster. The Rock. Dwayne the Squirtle Johnson. Evie. Gary. Toothpaste lid. Big Chungus. An octopus. Another Evie. The Rock, but thick. Baby Grok. Mike Wachowski. The Rock Keycap. Mario the Rock Johnson. There's a lot of these. Fred the Frog, but he's a rock. The Rock, but he's a creeper. There's just an actual normal rock. Pickle Rock. Shrock. Plankton Rock. A Christmas ornament. Baby Groot. Sonic. A rocket. A ring. A capybara. A shifter for your car. Master Chief. An entire chess set. You see what I mean? There's a lot of these for some reason. Muscular Diglett, but he's the Rock. There's a worrying amount of these. And I don't know what got into people to do this. It's a funny shitpost, I guess. Rocktimus Prime. Sandy Rocks. Okay, okay, we're done. We're done. We're not going to look at these anymore. They're cursed.
Shut up, don't laugh at me. So I 3D printed this gearbox because we want to swing a really large helicopter blade.
Hold on.
And we need to reduce the RPMs of the Dremel to a more manageable RPM for like the rotor disc because we need more torque.
I'm scared. You're making me search Kirby.
Such a giant propeller blade. Therefore, I made this.
Okay, these are valid.
Savvy?
Except that one. Those seemed valid.
What kind of thrust we get? I think it's flipping. Oh. Oh my gosh, he's got thrust.
It sounds like a two-stroke engine.
Alright, last thing to do is put that tail rotor on and then just try to... Okay, so it's this is a helicopter, like I said, you need some kind of torque control, so we have this little brushless motor here. Now I've done the most laziest possible thing and directly hooked the speed controller to the rudder channel, so I have to manually control the torque.
Wow.
I mean, it requires more pilot skill, but I'm too lazy to try to configure a gyro to work with this doohickey, so we're just gonna try to fly it. Alright, only one thing to do.
Get some rudder!
Alright, rudder, this way.
That CG's off.
It's trying so hard.
Should we get it? Move it back more forward?
Oh.
Glue it back together.
Balsa wood.
Blades. Bring it on.
The way it winds up sounds so... Oh. Oh. It's broken now. Why do weird inventors...
I think it's slipping. Yeah, it's slipping, yeah. Look at those blades!
What happened to the blades?
It's not gonna flop.
Oh, there they go. Also, why do all these inventors just make stuff in their garage? Why do they keep doing that? It's such a not smart thing. But also it's kind of funny, so I'll let it slide. Oh.
Flybar is actually not having as much influence as they need it to have. This might have to get bigger, the flybars.
What a great build.
The new roto chopper
It's
blades.
safer than the kitchen. Are you sure? There's more dangerous stuff in a garage.
I figured out what the exact problem was. Scaling from the small rubber band powered model, which turns significantly higher RPMs with much lighter blades. It has a more stabilizing effect from gyroscopic forces of this thing spinning. However, the enlarged part as is didn't have enough mass, so it wasn't heavy enough to kind of influence this the way it should have been. So I reprinted the part, redesigned it with this much heavier counterbalance thing. So I think this is going to be way more stable. I'm really gonna check stability this time before I let it go, because last time I let it go, it destroyed itself. Oh, okay. I was just gonna... Wow. It doesn't like me moving it. It just gets back to center. Alright, I guess it's time to try to fly it.
Lift off. Takeoff test, come on. Oh.
Turn it off, turn it off.
I always love
It
watching
was getting lighter.
these things just self-destruct is so interesting.
Yeah, just this thin balsa. We previously destroyed these really thick blades because the flybar wasn't strong enough, so it collided with the helicopter boom. We're going to try to reinstall these now with the carbon strip, and hopefully we see some different results.
I'm surprised they're not using like...
There's also a lot more meat on these. Those other blades, I kind of depended on them to turn a higher head speed, where these will have a lower rotor head
Failure
speed.
is the basis
so
of... I mean, yeah,
there's less
I'm
stress
surprised they're using wood and not like, I don't know, carbon fiber stuff or something.
This is never going to fly.
It's so
These have to
unstable.
come off. These have to be balanced. Oh! Unbroken blade on the scale. 20 grams. 14 grams. Oh, you probably sanded these to different consistencies. Look at this. Look at your airfoil! What kind of homework did you do?
Oh, they're not even even.
Airfoil is completely different profile.
Right.
Oof.
It's like a whole 6 grams off. See the kind of verbal abuse I had to put up with.
Sanding.
Turn it on. Let's see how it bounces. Yeah, bounces better. You have to manually start the Dremel tool because the Dremel tool has 2 switches. It's got an on and off switch and then a speed selector switch. Now I obviously could add another servo to the on and off switch, but I like destroying his blades and making him have to come turn it off. It's more funny that way. Go quick.
Oh my god, it really does look like it can take off. I never want to work in the airplane part. I mean, at least those are computerized, so you don't have a risk of like messing up. Oh god, it took off.
Put it back in the center. I think we might have to do a little bit of weight saving or something.
It straight up took off. It was off the ground for 5 seconds.
Oh. Kill the motor. It's so close to flying. It's just a little overweight. It needs more thrust. Bump it down. Oh, the battery's dead. Oh.
Oh, the Dremel battery's
The
dead?
Dremel battery's dead.
I thought you meant that battery controlling it was dead.
No. Fully charged battery.
Oh god. It's like that toy for kids. It's still like jittering. It's so scary. For some reason, it says that you're Guildmaster Elmo, like your grandma. No, I'm not your grandma. I'm not old. Oh god, it's taking off. And then the wing broke again.
It started spinning so rapidly that I just countered the other way and it didn't seem to help.
I might need more higher voltage.
Mom.
Hey, it's capable of flight.
Do you have kind of grandma vibes? That's an interesting take. I don't know how I feel about that. Oh. Oh. I'm so scared. It's like it's trying to take off and I'm like oh my god.
Oh no.
Oh. Dog.
The time has come. We are going to test the Dremel copter. We've done numerous tests at the workshop, and I believe this Dremel is ready to go airborne. Oh no! Try it again. Full throttle. Number 3.
I think this can go airborne.
Time number
Immediately
4.
crashes.
Give me the Allen wrenches.
Oh, it's going. Oh.
So we'll adjust that and we'll try it again. This is so much harder than it looks. Kill it. If you guys wonder why I don't build a full-scale helicopter, this is probably why. Alright, well, I gave up on the little fusible pieces of wood, and now we're using aircraft safety wire. So now if it crashes, it's definitely going to break. Kill it. Okay, kill it. People accuse me of
the
having
effort was
projects
there.
that work all the time. Actually, come to think of it, I don't think anyone has ever accused me of that. But my god, this thing is like really trying my patience today. Ready? Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
Okay, needs more power.
Oh.
Kill it. Oh no!
Oh. When it went down, it made like a squeal.
One tear rotor mount
Oh,
assembly.
poor man.
Oh no.
You sheared the gears.
Yeah, I need to reprint those. Still in the testing phase because we haven't got a full lap. I won't be satisfied until we do one full lap with this contraption. Well, I did learn a few more things.
The scary part
We
is
need to
that
make more
he doesn't
adjustments
consider
still.
it done.
Unfortunately, a lot of these crashes have really bent pieces, so we need to make some more minor adjustments. It's been almost completely rebuilt. New shaft, new safety pins. It's been upgraded to toothpicks instead of balsa wood shear pins, so now it's a little bit stronger. We have a brand new motor with more thrust, because I think I ran out of tail authority with the previous setup. All right, Steven, get over here and turn this thing on.
I wonder what it's gonna look like when it's done.
Yeah, it's turning really fast.
Is it going to be more Dremel than man, or is it going to be more helicopter than
Hub
Dremel?
okay, I need a pretty new hub.
Will it lose its humanity? We'll never find out.
I've determined that too low to the ground, there's too much rotor wash and interaction between the rotor wash and the airframe, so we're gonna lift it up because this thing has like actually no directional control other than yaw. So I'm gonna have him hand launch it like in the field.
Oh. Oh.
Need new blades again.
It's another day. Time to try it again. We just tried some more blade adjustments, and hopefully this thing is just gonna fly just like normal.
Please fly.
Oh, come on. Oops,
No.
we broke these balsawood blades. Let's swap these basswood blades. Fortunately, made a bunch of blade replacements because I foresaw this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Keep going. No! Oh my god. Grab it.
Oh, it's working. Sort of.
We're going forward.
Oh.
Oops, it crashed.
Big crash.
Okay,
Oh.
after looking at this crash again, I figured out what I need to do. I need to put a horizontal stabilizer on top because I think this thing is accelerating too fast because there's no pitch influence from anywhere in the machine. So I'm going to aerodynamically add this stabilizer to the top and hopefully fix that. Yes.
That was a cool crash, though. Yeah.
Time to try it again. This time we've changed the rotor blade pitch a little bit, and I've made
Like the
more
blades came off and
flying.
everything.
All right, check this out, Dave.
Oh my god.
Immolent sent me this really cool flashlight. It goes up to 60,000 lumens, and if you're interested, check it down below. It's gonna help us fly this helicopter after dark because I live in Ohio right now, and we have no more daylight.
Dumb sponsor spot. I appreciate that. Oh.
Oh man, it shut off. Wait, did the battery just drop out with this stuff?
Oh, it fell out.
Oh,
The bat-
no, it didn't actually secure in. Oh no. Oh my goodness.
The bottom just
Oh,
fell
no,
out.
we can't patch it. Look at the carbon fiber.
Oh my goodness.
Fix it again, Steven.
I'm over 150 maintenance hours on this bird. Freaking sucks, dude.
Oh man.
I blame you.
Just get tape.
It's another day. Now we have even more mods. I have the stabilizer attached, and we're just gonna go and send it. I really have given up on counting how many times this is taken. Did you pre-flight the aircraft?
Oh. Oh, it's going.
Oh yeah.
It's gaining altitude. Oh no. Oh,
It works though.
that was the longest sustained
flight
flight
yet.
so far.
It came down in a hurry and it's
And then it just
again. Let's trim that down again.
broke itself.
And here you go. You can
Again?
one more time. That is the most successful flight we've had so far out of all this. I'm gonna redo this again because I want to make one more good flight. I want a little bit of a lap. If we can do that, I'll be happy. So now we're gonna make all these adjustments. This time I've adjusted the heads more because we kept bending the shaft on the head, and I think it's gonna work. I have never crashed something this many times, at least I don't think. So we picked a pretty bad day because it's blowing pretty good. We're gonna go over there in the shadow and launch it. Try to see how high a Dremel tool can really fly.
I wonder how much they spent so far. In terms of time or money, because money, not a lot. Time, way more than they needed to. Money, I mean, Dremels don't cost that much, but... Oh, shoot. Oh. Was that the entire tailpiece? That was a relatively safe landing.
Every single time. Okay, it's another day. This time I've adjusted the flybar because I got tired of the helicopter crashing and snapping these little eensy-beensy pieces of carbon fiber. Now we got this big old thick one. Starting the blades. Alright, give me more RPM.
Oh. Oh. It's trying. Oh. At least the landings are getting better. Is that improvement?
I turned it off. I plugged the battery. It's not working. I plugged the battery. Because I want this to work.
Oh, you guys. We're going to shed the landing gear. I don't know why it's got such slow power this time, but yeah.
We're going to just remove the landing gear and also, I guess, the battery.
Oh, did it?
Just push the. Or let me just grab a new.
Yeah. Can this thing just work? I want to be done. I want it to go up in the sky. Okay, here we go. Take number 1,000,000. All right, give me more speed.
Oh.
Keep it going. Go get it.
Majestic. Look at it.
I'm fighting it. I mean, we could fix it, probably.
We could fix it or just consider. Well, you know what? It'd be cool to learn about ball lightning. Ball lightning was a cool concept. Oh, it is still going. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. It's spinning out. No.
What part went out?
And unfortunately, this isn't working. As you can see, it's underpowered, and this aerodynamic load from this thicker wire is just too much. So we go back now.
It's flying. It just needs to be stable, I guess.
Yes, this is actually another day. Now we have all the changes, some new, some old, and hopefully we get.
Look how wild that tail. There's so much on the tail stabilization. Like, oh my god.
It turns out that flashlight is about dead because I forgot to charge it. Let's just fly it. I'm turning it on. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Oh. Oh. Caught it. Nice.
I caught it.
Please no.
What the heck? Why is it so bad?
I don't know.
No. Oh, it hit the car. Oh.
What did it hit? Your bumper?
No, it bounced off the hood of the car.
Is the car okay?
Measure.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, it's going. Oh!
That was the longest flight yet!
The crash was good.
Helicopter. I'm done with this. Dremels can fly.
It worked though.
I tried to grab the drum. Watch, you'll see me struggle here. Look at this. Oh, I dropped it. I dropped
You're
it
too
again.
busy trying to watch it.
I know. I'm trying to see where the heck you're flying. Yeah, I got a little bit of frame there.
No.
And then you crashed it.
Missed it.
You finally managed to fly the Dremel-powered helicopter with the blade adjustments, the flybar adjustments, the gearing assembly. There's actually a lot of torque going on here, so I had to redesign this thing like a couple times. But fortunately, we've had one full flight, kind of. No successful landings here.
Kind of.
But we did manage to fly a stock Dremel tool. I should really work on a control scheme for some of these projects. Let me know what other future video suggestions you have for power tools, because we are definitely going to make some of your other weird requests. Maybe we'll do the weed eating tool next.
I thought it was gonna go down, but for some reason it like had more power. And as they came around here, then the RPMs just dropped, and then I was like, that's it.
Meow. It works, which is all I really wanted. It works in theory, I guess. Okay, so what was the other thing? What was the next thing I said in order? Oh, birds. Yay, we're gonna take a small brain break and watch birds. I love this video. It's from Maker's Muse. They're cool. They do a lot. They also do a lot of 3D printing stuff, and I just thought this was like really cute. This is just a cute animal video. This has nothing to do with learning.
My whole life. I've always viewed them as creatures of pure chaotic energy, raucous and destructive. But it wasn't until recently that I realized they are so much more than that. They have wildly different personalities, a very complex hierarchy and social structure, and are incredible problem solvers. So, as a way of saying thank you to my favorite cockies, I want to give them a gift. What I didn't expect was to learn even more about these intelligent creatures. Let's get started. I love my cockies, but okay, they're wild birds. They're not exactly my birds. But over the past 2 years, I've come to know many of these wild cockatoos very well, visiting our balcony almost every day for snacks of seeds and fruit. In fact, I found their behavior so fascinating that back in 2020, I decided to start making puzzles for them to solve, and each puzzle design got more and more complex, and they continued to amaze me
I saw a
in their
video
ability
about
to figure them
squirrel
out in their
Oh yeah, it's
relentless
kind of like a similar idea.
So
This one's like doing puzzle
feathered friends with a gift. But what kind of
making
present
these
do you
guys
give
do
a wild cockatoo? Well,
puzzles.
one they can destroy, of course. Cockatoos are crazy smart, but they're also famous for being crazy destructive. And for good reason. Their huge beaks have a bite force of over 350 psi, and they have no issue tearing their way through obstacles and barriers.
He's
if
just like,
that's an option.
I'm eating
They've
plastic now.
certainly broken a number of my puzzles in the past. Some time ago, I discovered that I also love breaking into cardboard boxes to retrieve a treat. So I thought it'd be a fun project to make them specifically designed boxes this Christmas for them to open. Birds are sensitive to a very large number of chemicals and pigments, so it was crucial that every part of the present was bird safe, just in case they ingested anything. So I decided to make everything from scratch, from the box all the way up to the wrapping paper. To create a folded box, you first need a net. A net is a flat pattern of a 3D shape, and well, I'm honestly not sure why it's called a net, but through a combination of cut and scored lines, you can turn cheap, thin material like paper or cardboard into a huge range of products and packaging. Nets can be used to create incredibly complex 3D geometry and have the added benefit of being able to be transported flat. But let's be real, being interested in net design is a pretty nerdy thing. So anyway, I have this amazing book full of net designs. And for this project, I wanted to avoid the need for any kind of tape or glue, because tape could very easily stick to their beaks, and commercial glue, I'm not really sure how safe it would be for them to ingest. I really like this design, which folds the side walls over flaps to be locked securely in place with tabs and slots, but it's the wrong size. So to turn it into a bird-sized cube, I went about resizing the vectors in Illustrator before adding some branding, which I'm sure the cockatoos will appreciate. I chose these A2 folios because they turned out to be the most accessible and economical source of recycled cardstock. Yeah, go figure. You can totally draw and cut out net designs by hand, but I'm lazy, so I have this laser cutter, which can not only cut the outline, but also score and mark the material by running at a lower setting and moving at higher speeds. Once the sheets were cut to size, it was really easy to run each job back to back, and as long as you save the cut and score vectors on different layers, you can easily assign the different settings and cut order, which is really important because you want to cut the final outline last so the material doesn't shift around. Cardstock laser cuts really easily and produces a surprisingly clean edge. I definitely recommend trying it, but still,
man, I wish I had a laser cutter.
Decides to catch fire. It took a little trial and error to get the score lines correct, but they really help with assembling the boxes, and the folded lid is snug but not impossible to remove. So with that, it's time to move on to the wrapping paper. I spent way too much time researching food-safe paint recipes and cross-referencing that with bird-safe foods, but I figured if they can eat wheat, then using flour as a thickener should be okay. So I landed on a kind of paper mache style mix. And in terms of coloring, I bought some blueberries to try, as well as turmeric, which I know from experience stains everything it touches a rich burnt yellow. The first test was a complete disaster. I really haven't used these portable gas stoves much before, and the burner was way more powerful than I
remember that video, that
turned
news
the first
article going
batch
around. That
into
was good.
Pancakes. But after a quick reset and adding the flour slowly to the water instead of the other way around, I felt more confident to try colouring the mixture with blueberries. I really don't know what I was expecting, but the squished goop from the berries was not at all
Although,
the colour
turmeric
of the
does stain really bad, and it
It
takes like
might work
3 days
instead
to get out.
add
I would
the
suggest
skins
not
to the
to.
water and flour mixture and bring the heat up slowly so they might steep and leach
Yeah,
out
no,
that
it stains like the
Crazy
Dickens.
how the
Do
viscosity
not
changes. The mixture went from super
dye
runny
it something
to the
you
thickness
don't
of
want.
yogurt within seconds
undyed.
of reaching a certain temperature.
Also,
I found
look,
myself having to stir constantly to keep it from clumping. Yeah, as you can probably guess, I don't make many thickened sauces. After a lot of vigorous stirring, I strained the blueberry bits out of the mix. I was left with this goop,
It looks like
which,
yogurt.
Honestly, it's a color. I'm not really sure what color I was expecting or what you'd call it. It's certainly not purple, but maybe
I'm
grape
sure
purple.
it looks like
Not a
wall
highlight
paint and
colour
also
in
looks
any
like
case.
yogurt
But
and
the
is
attempt to use
completely
turmeric
edible. So you
turned
know
out
what? We
a
all win
lot
here.
Better. In this case, the color is actually much more vivid. It honestly looks a bit like a batch of pumpkin soup or something, and has a similar consistency.
Drink
but it has
it,
that strong
drink it,
turmeric smell,
drink
which I'm not really a fan of. I bought a roll of recycled craft
You're
paper.
really
and
grandma
had
if you're
this
saying like the
amazing idea
Dickens.
of creating
Excuse
a
me.
custom roller using a combination of my logo.
I'm not
cute
that-
vectors embossed onto a cylinder in Fusion 360.
I'm not
that I
that.
printed out
Listen,
in PLA
I'm only
plastic.
saying
And
that
if you
because
think there's
I
no possible way
don't
this could ever work,
want to
then
swear
you'd
too
be
much on
correct.
stream.
It was a complete failure. It kind
It's
of
just a
does the
personal
opposite
policy
of what I
of mine.
wanted, leaving the bird and logo areas paint free while smearing a thick, goopy mess over the butcher's paper. Still, the DIY paint well with a paintbrush. It takes a while to dry because again it's water-based, but it leaves a nice texture behind. It actually seems to strengthen the fragile craft paper.
So I
quite a bit as
substitute
well.
my
So if
swears with
custom
all the
printed
funny
rollers
old
a
ones.
fail, what about stamps? Using a laser cutter to custom engrave stamps is already like very well established in industry. So I modified some vectors to create a negative
Not swearing
engrave,
is hard if you're
where
used to
everything
it.
will be
Exact.
away
Well,
except for the shape.
my
of the
day
stamp
job
itself.
involves me not
Ideally,
swearing
use
too,
some
so
kind of
like.
special rubber for this.
I also
found
think
that
it's
EVA
funnier.
foam works okay for short-term use, but you can't use stamps without ink, and my
Also,
DIY
cool
paint
stamp.
certainly didn't work well with them at all. So back to the YouTubes for research, and I came across this incredibly
Oh my
wholesome
goodness.
video on Sketchy where Dylan makes some natural ink using fresh beetroot. The color is really rich and vivid.
Oh, heck
so
yeah,
off to the
beets.
supermarket we go again. This sad beetroot was all I could find, but it'll have to do. Roughly following his method, I grated it up on the fine side of a cheese grater and proceeded to make a massive mess. If you don't want
Also, beets stain a lot. Don't wear white. Do not wear white. Also, wash your hands. Or use a fork. Don't even get it on your hands. It stains for like a day.
red hands, then it's best to use gloves, and do not wear clothes
Yeah, see?
you care about, because it gets everywhere. I decided to grate as much of the beetroot as possible, but be careful not to grate yourself in the process, as it gets smaller and more slippery.
The color of blood and
Cut
beetroot is
yourself,
too
it's,
similar.
not really easy to tell.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure blood is safe for birds. Is human blood safe for birds to eat? Oh.
If he likes the
Resulting
taste, he
pulp
will
is
kill
full
you.
of this rich
Thanks,
purpley
OP.
pink juice, and I took it to a sieve and squeezed it through my hand, and I'm not ashamed to admit that it was incredibly satisfying to do. For the final wrapping paper, I decided to paint alternate washes of the flour-based paints before then stamping the various shapes randomly using the beetroot ink. If you water it down, it makes an incredible watercolor-like wash.
Look how
but for
cute it
stamping, I
is.
found it was best to be left
bird has acquired a
unlimited,
taste for
and
human
with a bit of
blood.
practice and a quick
Oh no,
ink
they've
pad,
gotten too smart.
got pretty decent at it by the end. Some of the stamps work better than others,
Look how
but
cute
I
this
am
is, though.
stoked with the end result.
Very
I filled
natural.
some of the boxes with a few tasty seeds and a single almond, and then finally realized a flaw in my plan. If I was going to wrap the boxes in wrapping paper, then I'd have to use tape, and I didn't want to use tape in the first place because it might stick to the birds' beaks, and anyway. Luckily enough, there's an easy solution to that, because what I had basically already made was glue with the flour and water mixture, and I used that to applique some choice areas of the wrapping paper into place on the box, before finally finishing them off with a small cute bow of jute twine, because I know from past experience that the cockatoos love to undo knots.
Rah.
And this is the final result.
Boy bush. Oh my god, he made little ornaments. Rust. Very cute. Very rustic. It looks like soap would be in this. Or like birdseed, which it is in this.
And here's the result, and I just absolutely love the look of it. It's got this artisanal quality to it that wouldn't look out of place in a craft market where there might be handmade soaps or candles inside, but in the case of mine, these have a date with destruction. So let's see what the cockatoos think of them.
Birds, 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 birds. Yeah! Oh. Oh, he's going for the corners. Yeah, it looks like he's just He knows he's watching. I love the head bob, just like, Yeah, he knows he's watching. He's doing this incorrectly for the purposes of the camera. I do love how he, like, reorients it with his foot, though. He's almost got it, though. Okay, now he's just chewing at the cardboard. Did he do it? Yeah, mission success. It's bullied off by dominant male. Yo, that's messed up. No. Aww. Oh, it's for Popeye. Bully over here? Jesus. But it isn't very clever either. The bully is stupid. Nice. Edwina. I like how he looks at the gift and then looks at the camera like, I know you're film. Like, what am I supposed to do with this, Mr. Man with the camera? Oh. He's taking the wrapping paper off. I'm surprised not one of them has taken off the like the knot. But I guess they know that they can just like bite through it, so I guess that's why. Oh no. Bro. Why are they getting bullied for their each one of them has a present. Calm down. They're too stupid to finish and open it up. Oh, you know, invalid. What have we learned, kids? Bullies are stupid. Popeye's playing with
Thank
the box.
Thank you so much for watching. I had an absolute blast making these little custom gifts for the cockatoos, and they certainly enjoyed tearing them to pieces. So I do wish you a very happy and safe holiday season and new year, no matter where you are in the world. It's my aim here on Maker's Muse to empower your creativity through technology.
Love him.
And 2022, fingers crossed, is going to be a good year. I have lots of things planned.
Yeah, this was a year ago.
So till then,
but he did like lots of other stuff, like teaching cockatoos to steal from a trash can by making a tiny trash can. Oh, there he goes. He's a very good channel. I love Maker's Muse. Why aren't I subscribed? What? Why haven't I subscribed? What? I'm fixing that. Okay. Next category that we were showing off in the beginning. The terrifying world of Soviet theme parks. Are you ready, comrades? I'm ready. Let's go. I do like theme parks. Do you like Soviet
Greetings,
theme parks?
comrades, and welcome to, well, certainly one of the strangest topics I've ever covered on the channel. Today, I'm going to be going down the rabbit hole of communist theme parks and experiences, which I can promise you is incredibly strange and bizarre. First, though, I find that most people don't seem too familiar with Soviet history, so if it's not something they haven't been exposed to, let me catch you up to speed. As Russia abolished
interesting.
them in 1861, the empire would then begin to quickly industrialize around the late 19th century. With a new and growing working class, civil unrest grew against the monarchy of Tsar Nicholas II, and in 1905, a strike by unarmed workers was put down violently by imperial troops. This led to a snowball effect throughout the rest of the Russian Empire, leading to mass strikes in what is now known as the Revolution of 1905.
Ooh, I did not see that atrocity guide
class
video.
assemblies known as Soviets, made up of soldiers, farmers, and industrial workers, Nicholas II established a Duma, which was a Russian parliament that would work towards reform. However, as Russia entered the First World War in 1914 to counter German aggression against Serbia, the already fragile Russian Empire was drained of food and other resources, only further turning the country against the Tsar. In February of 1917, violent protests erupted in the Russian capital Petrograd, where the last of the loyal military guard were overwhelmed, and 3 days later, Nicholas II stepped down from power as a provisional government was established. Among various factions vying for power were the Bolsheviks, a divisive anti-war party rooted in Marxist ideology and led by Vladimir Lenin. In November of the same year, under a call for armed revolution from the Bolsheviks, soldiers and party members would storm the Winter Palace of Petrograd and dissolve the provisional government, assuming control themselves. While they would pull Russian soldiers out of the war, they themselves would fight in a Russian civil war until 1923, finally establishing control as the Soviet Union, a dictatorship under Lenin, but based around the philosophy of communism. For communism to work, the Soviet philosophy believed that it would need to be adopted worldwide, free from the influence of other powerful actors. This became the beginning of the Cold War, as Soviet communism was inherently at odds with the capitalistic systems of Western Europe.
And you know where we're at this point.
However, Lenin
So,
would die
yay!
in 1924, and through
Russian
the power
history.
struggle, Joseph Stalin would head the Soviet Communist Party as General Secretary. With the outbreak of World War II and the German invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, Soviet soldiers would eventually help turn the tide of war and push back into Germany. As they did so, the Soviet Union would establish itself over much of Eastern Europe, and at the conclusion of the war, many of these countries would be forced into communist regimes that would answer to the whims of Moscow. So, the Soviet Union and its various countries under its control would exist behind what is called the Iron Curtain by the West, practicing brutal oppression until its eventual collapse and dissolution in 1991. Under Soviet rule, citizens were never safe from secret police and other cruel authorities. They would often live under poor standards, starving and fighting for whatever scraps they could find. Dissidents to authority, or perhaps even just unlucky people, would find themselves thrown into gulags, prison camps where they would work until they died. The Soviet Union was a brutal, oppressive regime. So,
Doesn't know that they're
comrade, how would you like to travel to the former satellite state of Lithuania, pay $50, and then get whipped with a belt by a former KGB agent as he shouts at you in Russian and gets you to sign a confession statement?
What? Hold up, what?
It's like an absolute blast. So let's dive into the absolutely bizarre world of the Soviet theme park.
Hold up, what? Wait, is the Soviet theme park a theme park where you get the Soviet experience? What? Hold on. Okay. It's now caught my attention because I'm just like, wait, what? Huh? Huh? I get yelled at by the heavy from TF2 for $50?
Very much like my video where I covered Christian theme parks, all radically different from one another but unified under a single theme, this video will be quite similar. I'll be taking on an eclectic handful of different themed experiences, and there's no better place to start than with the absolutely wild Soviet bunker. As I previously stated, this experience is located in Lithuania, and is intended to teach younger generations and foreign visitors about the horror of Soviet rule. For younger children or field trips, the bunker exists more as an educational museum, but is still rather straightforward in how it teaches about Soviet oppression. However, as a themed educational experience for adults, it's actually kind of insane. The experience first starts when you arrive at a military checkpoint, playing the role of a Soviet citizen in 1984, and being provided clothes that reflect that late Soviet era.
Oh my god!
Participants will be lined up outside where an actor, played by an actual ex-KGB agent, will intimidate them by barking out instructions in Russian. This is intended to be authentically uncompromising, knowing that many younger Lithuanian or foreign visitors won't speak Russian and will have to suffer from not following the instructions. The prisoners will be marched to the bunker, an actual leftover and unused Cold War remnant. The bunker itself is large and maze-like, and as participants advance throughout different rooms, they will be instructed on how to live inside the bunker. This seems to include learning how to survive chemical warfare, visiting a commissary, some sort of propagandistic war room, and this absolutely terrifying dental chair, among others.
What's the dental chair for?
The experience itself is unscripted, hosted entirely by ex-KGB agents who really get into the roleplay. If you choose to misbehave, well...
Nepasiduodantis arba specialiai provokuojantis, tai turim tamsių kamerėlių. Išsivedi žmogų kažkur už kampo vieną, nu ir žmonės palūžta.
Either he breaks out or he leaves the show.
If you think that's bad, just wait until they make you sign a confession statement in a language you probably don't speak. As part of the experience, you might be lucky and they'll whip you with a belt. Just so we're clear, people seem to be under the misconception that this is some sort of vacation experience.
It's totally different. Normally you lie down on the beach, you go to a party, and this is totally different.
LARPing, but different.
It's fun to do, but you need someone to translate it for you. Otherwise you don't understand anything out of it.
I cannot believe that he just described this as fun, but I'll take his word for it. I have to admit that there is definitely an educational appeal to it, though.
Love this bust of Stalin. I feel like there's like a button on the back for to open the missile silos. I mean Lenin. Why did I say Stalin?
Propaganda was part of the charm of living in the Soviet Union, where the leaders knew best and the rest of the world was out to spoil the revolution. While we aren't subjected to physical harm, there is no room here for independent thought. The show attempts to break our will, just as it was in the USSR.
All joking is...
Okay, is this like... I keep thinking about how this could be different things. I'm like, my brain's like, it's like a Renaissance fair, but fucked up. Maybe.
The experience in itself
I don't think it's
received a lot of criticism for going a bit too far. However, the organization that runs the experience seems very committed to educating younger generations that never experienced the oppression of Soviet rule, hoping to instill in them a fear of such totalitarian systems.
Fair.
The previous segment also makes a good point, speaking about how people will look back fondly on Soviet rule with charm and nostalgia, often ignoring its oppressive nature. Vladimir Putin today certainly isn't shy about wanting to restore Russia to its Soviet glory, trying to establish a hegemonic regime over former satellite states. He famously even proclaimed that the fall of the Soviet Union was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the century. His consolidation of power over the last 2 decades, in addition to the current war in Ukraine, really highlights why educating people on the oppressive Soviet regimes is more important than ever.
Valid.
While Soviet's bunker is almost comically serious, on the flip side you can visit Grutas Park, also located in Lithuania. Often known as Stalin's World, this museum-like exhibit generates its own brand of controversy through its often irreverent tone. Founded in 2001 by Viliumas Malinauskas, a wealthy mushroom farmer, the park's main draw is the salvaged Soviet statues on display.
Oh, interesting.
After the fall of the Soviet Union, many of its symbols and relics were destroyed, yet many here were saved and put on display for the enjoyment of visitors. However, where Grutas Park certainly offers an educational aspect as a museum,
wealthy mushroom
the
farmer.
way it
Yeah,
does
I'm like,
so is
I
what
don't...
draws controversy. Areas of the park are designed to look like a gulag, throwing up elements such as barbed wire, mock guard towers, and train cars that transported people to die as Soviet military marches play over the speakers. Throughout, you will of course find various Soviet statues of leaders such as Lenin and Stalin, once symbols of brutal oppression, but are now available for visitors to take pictures with. It's the relaxed, casual atmosphere that seems to rub people the wrong way, with critics feeling that it is disrespectful to the many Lithuanian people deported or killed under Soviet rule. However, Malinauskas seems to not take the criticism seriously.
Oh my god, it's a mannequin.
He has stated that the point of the attraction is to joke at the expense of the Soviets, as Lithuania is no longer living under fear.
Museum.
At one point, he even proposed an idea to transport visitors to the park in train cars,
No!
as if they were being sent to the Gulag.
Oh!
Among the various Soviet artifacts, you can also find a playground which is great for school children, in addition to these small, poorly designed animal exhibits.
Yo, there's a petting zoo!
It's kind of like a petting zoo, although I would be selective about which animals you choose to pet. At one point, a group of lawmakers attempted to shut the park down, but after having failed to do so,
It reminds me of your
statues of them.
Your. I know exactly who you're talking about.
He was quoted as saying, "Those who are still afraid
What
of
if we held
shadows
hands at
past
the Soviet
stay
petting
here."
zoo?
He is certainly bold, but I also understand his perspective. While many, of course, see the park as disrespectful to the victims of the Soviet
Well,
regime,
hold the. Was that a mortar? Hold up. Was that?
while many of
That's a mortar launcher. Like, you could take a picture with it. Like, sit on it. History's weird, guys.
of course, see the park as disrespectful to the victims of the Soviet regime, Malinowska seems to view it as not just a vessel for education, but for mockery. The ridiculous nature of the place and the disrespect shown towards the Soviet Union is his way of erasing their cultural power. Both Grutas Park and the Soviet
True.
bunker exist as interesting themed experiences, yet still aim to
But can I
educate.
piss on the statues?
The way that they choose to vilify Soviet
Wait, did
rule
you
is
say
radically
sit on the
different from
mortar?
them.
No.
But
Wait.
of course, that's what makes them interesting. However, I would like to move forward and
Imagine
take
a
a look
kid in
at
the
some
late
of the
90s
strange
who's
parks
just
actually
really
built
into Red
by
Alert
the
who
Union
hears about this
themselves.
park. Well, I mean, it's either that or take Mom, Dad, I want to go to Russia. So...
In 1935, an ambitious exhibit known as the All-Union Agricultural Exhibition would be established in Moscow, and after a series of delays, would finally open in 1939. Designed to be a Soviet's version of a World's Fair, the park would feature a number of temporary pavilions made from wood, designed to represent various facets of Soviet agriculture, and showcase the triumph of collective farm construction.
Okay.
Many of the pavilions would represent various republics that had joined with Russia under the Soviet Union pre-World War II, such as Ukraine, Turkmenistan, Belarus, and various others.
There are so many more
The complex also
statues
include
than I can
pavilions
imagine.
dedicated to the working people of the Soviet Union.
They're all very
with Some
modern.
of these expressed through ideas such as mechanization and vegetable farming. Some of the more interesting pavilions represented ideas such as Arctic exploration, apiculture, or beekeeping, if you're not familiar, the press,
This is a giant
the
bee.
refrigeration industry, and even peat.
Hold on, what? There's a giant... Yo, imagine being this architect and it was like, what do you want for this pavilion? And the answer just bees. Just bees. Giant bee. It's the size of a person. Giant human-sized bee on the... Yeah, that's great design.
You're not familiar. The press, the refrigeration industry,
I like the refrigeration industry is in fact a ice cap with a polar bear on it. That's kind of funny.
and even peat.
As in like the dirt.
Which makes
right?
sense with how concerned the Soviets were with agriculture.
Yeah.
There was even a whole pavilion dedicated just to farming beetroot.
Okay.
Certainly weird by Western standards, but beets have been a staple of Eastern European diets, so its representation makes sense.
Which reminds me, I've never had borscht in my
However,
life. I
since
should
the
have
buildings were
borscht.
temporary structures and the outbreak of World War II shuttered the park anyways, it wasn't until 1954 that it saw a major revival and began to resemble what we can still see today.
Oh, I was expecting it to be entirely just gone.
This version of the park was
Okay.
also anchored by two fountains. The People's Friendship Fountain was adorned by 16 gilded women, dressed in clothing meant to represent the 16 Soviet republics of the time.
Holy crap.
Further on, visitors would witness the Stone Flower Fountain, covered in local stones and representing a Euro fairy tale, also known as the Stone Flower.
Okay, that's like kind of pretty.
However, after the death of Stalin and Nikita Khrushchev becoming general secretary in 1956,
These look cool.
the exhibition would see a pretty significant
I just like
revival
architecture.
in 1950.
Cool architecture.
Many of the old buildings were demolished and rebuilt to be more permanent and grand, wanting to impress the Eisenhower administration. Over the years, the exhibition would change names various times, evolving to include more science and industry.
Okay, hold on, never mind. Look.
However,
someone's riding a goddamn like lime scooter out here.
In 2014, the name would be changed to its current iteration, the Exhibition of Achievements of National
Here.
Economy.
Hello, Rhodey. Nice to
Today,
welcome.
the park exists as a permanent world fair focused on Eastern Europe, still hosting pavilions based around former Soviet states and hosting a number of museums, not unlike a Soviet's version of the US National Mall. One of the more interesting locations is the Cosmonautics and Aviation Center. focused on the history of Soviet aviation and space exploration. Another notable exhibit would be Russia, My History, which seems pretty self-explanatory from the name.
I like how previous talkers from today's have come
One of
up
the
in this
exhibition's newer attractions is the Muscovarium, which is the largest
Pronounce
aquarium
him, her?
located
Gotcha.
in Europe.
Cool.
It's quite ambitious,
Be
and
sure-
whether or not you agree with keeping dolphins in order.
Reminder to everybody, be sure to install the Twitch pronouns extension and use it. Make Twitch a better place, you know? So there's rocket engine ignited from underneath by giant matches. Oh, whoa. What? That's cool. That was a thing. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Hold on. I gotta do a PSA. Hold on. Wait. How do I do that? Hold on. We gotta do a PSA about the Twitch. Hold on. So, in the Chrome extension store or wherever you get your extensions. I think it should be on here. Go for Twitch pronouns. Twitch chat pronouns. I just noticed the reflex. You install it, and it comes up in your extensions, and it'll look like. Let me find it. Is it off? Oh, there we go. Oh. Give me the settings, you silly app. There you go. Oh. Wait, what? Oh, yeah, no. Manage extension. That's the right button. Why is this not working in the way I want it to? Your email is showing? Oh, no. People will send me emails that'll filter out. What a problem. We've all seen it 1,000 times. Shut up. Shut up. If I remember right... Oh, yeah, so... You install that, and then you go to the website, log in with Twitch, and then you change your pronouns, and then hit submit. And anybody else with the extension, it'll appear in chat. Just PSA for everybody. Okay? Please use it.
Because in captivity, you cannot deny the impressive scale of the building.
Ooh.
Finally, one last notable exhibit I would like to highlight is the scale model of Moscow itself.
Oh, whoa.
If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know I'm a
Is it on
sucker for
PC
scale
only? Are you on... I believe
Every
so,
hour,
yes,
Highlight Show will
unfortunately.
play.
But it does support, like, web browsers. Are you on mobile? Like the Twitch pronouns extension. It supports Chrome and Firefox. So it's operating system agnostic as long as you use those browsers and aren't also on mobile.
Highlighting different elements of the city.
That's
Walking
honestly
around,
kind of cool.
the exhibition, while of course
You have to remember,
contemporary,
sorry,
is also itself a museum of Soviet
But I mean, if you're watching from your PC, good
the
thing to have.
aesthetic of the different buildings and monuments, in conjunction with the gardens, fountains, and statues, really does impress. Like many other Soviet expressions of art, it's made to make you feel as if you're an important cog in a larger machine, an essential component in a grand new society based around collective organization, expressed through public places almost utopian
At least
in
you
nature.
prepare account what that site will be is visible for
Despite
others.
the
Yeah,
long-lasting
exactly.
legacy of Soviet oppression and the atrocities committed behind the Iron Curtain, it's also easy to
Like,
see
not
how the
everybody
people
has it
back on
installed,
the
but it works
society
with
with
people who
nostalgia.
have it installed, which is
Even younger generations who never experienced Soviet rule could look at something like this and be forgiven for yearning for an older time, feeling as if they were part of something larger than themselves. It's no mistake that as Putin continues to build his own spiritual successor to the Soviet Union, that this park has seen a recent revival over the last decade. Still, taken out of the context of authoritarian culture, its scale and architecture is quite fascinating.
holy crap. Oh, it's cool. Well, I mean, it's big. Architecture's cool. Okay, what is this?
On the topic of Soviet nostalgia, I think it's worth mentioning Patriot Park, described as the Disneyland
Thank you for the
of
follow,
Russia's
Rhodey.
military. Whatever
Enjoy
that's
your
supposed to mean.
complimentary drink and have a wonderful rest of
Now,
your day
having
here.
opened in 2016, it is clearly meant to showcase the current capability and equipment of the Russian military, but among a nationalistic Russian public and a revival of Soviet nostalgia, I think you can connect the dots. Then again, I've seen plenty of stuff like this in the United States, so it's not entirely unique, although I think the designation of...
No! we have Russian fursuits!
Russia's military Disneyland.
They even have hold up. Hold up.
So it's not entirely unique.
Okay, I thought they had feet. Okay, no, they have. Okay, it's just positive.
Military Disneyland
Oh.
is quite funny.
Oh, what's going on?
Traveling back to the actual Soviet era, though, let's take a quick look at a few parks built under their regime. I can say that for the most part, there didn't really seem to be much in the way of theming. For example,
That one hit me.
1928 was
That one hit me really hard.
Gorky Park in Moscow, named after the socialist writer Maxim
Why are
Gorky,
there
and sporting a few amusement rides. It would certainly evolve over the years, adding new attractions until
Hey, I
2011.
remember that one
It was
from Roller
completely
Coaster
overhauled,
Tycoon. It was the
removing
cool
all
slide.
the rides and rebuilding as purely a leisure space. Still, for decades, it worked as one of the more iconic amusement parks of the Soviet Union. Compared to Western Europe and the United States, Soviet rides also seemed like bad emulations, as you can see with Pripyat's long-abandoned Luna Park, which never officially opened because of the disaster at Chernobyl.
Oh.
This park seems to receive a
Pripyat.
little recognition
Let's
in
go.
the West, mostly because its abandoned Ferris wheel became an intriguing, ghostly symbol of the Chernobyl disaster. However, like many other Soviet-era parks, the rides appear old and dated through their use of thin, spindly metal bars, definitely remnants of an older era. Another example of rides like this would be in a now-demolished Lithuanian park, which used to be known in English as
I
Children's
think there's an SCP that was inspired by this park.
It's
Really?
notable for having contained a classic Schwarzkopf coaster model known as the Jetstar 2, but otherwise was just a series of flat rides. One of them is notable for having children ride in rockets, a common theme in the Soviet Union because of its space program. The world of Soviet theme parks doesn't seem to be documented very well, but they certainly are fascinating. What they used to be and what remains today serves as a stark reminder of the
That is
brutal
anomalous
Soviet
expanding
regime,
its
which continues
interesting.
to have a lasting effect. on
Lunar,
the lives
send me
of
that
Soviet
SCP
people
link, by the
today.
way. I want to read it later.
Whether they look back on it fondly with nostalgia, or feel the need to express its brutality as bluntly as possible, the Soviet era is undeniably interesting, and is reflected through various amusements in Eastern Europe. If you found this topic to be uniquely interesting, and would like to see more stuff like it, you could show your support by simply leaving a like on the video. As always though, if you haven't already subscribed and hit the bell icon, you can do so to stay notified and be alerted to new videos as they release.
Well, that was Soviets. This channel, Poseidon Entertainment, you put in general, thank you. You have, they have a lot of just kind of interesting theme park stuff that's not necessarily looking at the modern theme parks. Like, recently I watched a video about, what was it? Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach, which was Disney's water parks. And they seemed like really good, and it's one of those like cool things. All right. Next is we're going to be watching a thing from Wired, which I thought was kind of funny. So, the problematic roller coaster vids, it was interesting. Yeah, they're pretty good. Okay. This is from Wired. I just thought this was like neat, funny tech. So I'm sure you've heard of shoes, but have you heard of advanced shoes? Or shoes +1? Shoes of swift movement. The whole 9 yards. You know? Oh, we are talking.
Hello, fellow pedestrians. You know that feeling when you're at the airport and you step onto a moving sidewalk? You're still walking, but suddenly the world is floating by so much faster, and you have all this extra effortless speed. Well, that's the idea behind these. They're called moonwalkers, and they basically put an electric moving sidewalk under each of your shoes. They promise to increase your walking speed by 250% with no additional effort.
Zoomies.
So, questions. Are they real? Apparently. Are they ridiculous? Possibly. Are they safe? Are they tough enough? Do they work? Are they actually good? So we reached out to Shift Robotics here in winter in Pittsburgh. And we're
If I
gonna
could
check
get
out
one of
their
those like
R&D
shadow
lab.
shoes, maybe I could. Yeah.
All right, I'm all ready to go to work as a moonshiner. Anyway, let's see how this goes. First things first, I need to know how these things work. So I'm gonna get a crash course from the very guy who dreamed them up.
Okay.
Well,
so I'll
technically,
help
if
you
you
to
wear
activate
like a
them.
little
What
covering
we should
over
do
the
is
shoes,
lift up your
you
heel.
could pretend to be
Yeah.
Shadow the
Heel,
Hedgehog.
and
It'd be
turn
really
inside.
funny.
Yeah.
And then put it down?
And put that down. So see the green LED here?
Yeah.
They turn green. That means now you're in shift mode.
Okay.
Yep.
It's like a Dorothy Wizard of Oz move.
Yeah.
Problematic.
To go back to the lock mode.
Yeah.
Oh,
all you need to
Dragonfire,
do is
absolutely
lift the
post
same
it.
heel that you just use for shifting, for moving into the shift mode by doing this.
Okay.
And put them down.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
it. You're on lock mode again.
Back to the white light.
Mm-hmm. Let's get started.
All right. Whoa. Oh my God.
You rode on Dragonfire?
Oh, whoa. All right.
That was my first coaster.
That's right.
Oh
that's
no.
right.
This is such a strange feeling. I mean, it really feels like I've got a moving sidewalk under my feet that's sort of adjusting to the way I go. All right, now that I've got the basics down, it's time to put these babies through some trials. First up, the brake test. Walking fast is obviously great, but if you can't stop real quickly, then that could be a disaster. So we've got a tape measure on the ground. We're gonna see if I can go full speed and get down to a stop within like 5 feet. Let's see how this goes. Oh my God, this feels dangerous! Oh, okay. That was all right. I think I actually get closer than 5 feet. Let me try that again. 4 feet?
4 feet, yeah.
All right. Full speed and...
Oh.
I'll take that any day. See, teeth unchipped. Okay, these things are pretty fun, but they're not just Heelys for grown-ups. They're powered by brushless motors and some onboard machine learning. I'd love to get into the nitty-gritty of how these things actually work. So one of the things that you talk about is an AI drivetrain, right? That sort of learns from you as you go. Can you explain a little bit about how that works?
There's IMU sensor inside, which basically detect how your feet move with each other. When they are in operation, actually, two moonwalkers communicate with each other real fast via Bluetooth at hundreds times a second.
Okay.
They kind of figure out where shoes are relatively in space.
Relative to each other?
To each other, yeah, in spatial relationship. So we're also looking at the power, looking at the force coming from the motor as well. So we know exactly how much force you're pushing off the ground at the same time.
So if I have like a very specific kind of like strut, it would learn my strut.
Right. Okay. Obviously within a margin, but yes, it will be able to learn most people's stride.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
My strut is patent pending to sue. Okay, so these things are supposed to work in pretty much everyday conditions, so we're gonna try them in a couple different types of terrain and see how they navigate a few different obstacles as well. Oh, I really feel like I'm just gonna catch an edge and go flying straight into the heart of the gnarly stuff. Pitted Pittsburgh streets. Ah! Oh, wow. Oh my God. So, I have to say, I'm shocked that these little tiny wheels are navigating these huge cracks. I mean, you can see they almost half disappear into them, and yet it rolls right over them with a lot of ease. I mean, I guess that's redundancy, right? You got 10 wheels. That's super impressive. That's ridiculous. What's the idea of why so many wheels compared to like a four-wheel roller skate or roller blade?
Right. So to be able to go over bumps or cracks, we need to make the wheel large enough. Kind of patented idea is that we try to stack the wheel together so that even though they are small, but simulate much larger radius of rails.
All right, let's go for a few more.
That's honestly kind of cool.
So we want to try to get some slightly more.
I'm surprised why it doesn't have like tracks though, but that would involve
this time with my heart rate monitor
or
watch
something
on.
weird like that.
I'm going to go as fast as I can to the end of the block and back in these moonwalkers, and then I'm going to try to run at the exact same speed and see if my heart rate is a lot higher. My resting heart rate is currently at 95 because I'm trying to not die of hypothermia. So, go. So, I ran it at almost the same speed. My heart rate is 147. And you can see that, 147. So, More or less the same speed, definitely a lot more exertion.
This is actually the 9th iteration of the Moonwalkers.
So we've been going through at least 9 generations of major iteration and countless of minor iterations to arrive where we are today.
Which was the first one?
So
Hey, is it bad that I unironically like want
really
one of
the
these?
first one.
Because I really want these.
This is before like AI was integrated.
Absolutely,
so,
like, before
so if you
any
just
AI
hit the
kicked in.
button, your feet could actually.
Y'all are
shoot
talking
out.
about
absolutely,
roller
yeah.
coasters.
If you don't release that, you can actually fly.
I'm just curious, where did this idea come from? like why?
Yeah, if we can
No, it's
really
okay. Don't worry about
enhance
it.
and augment the way people walk, especially in places like San Francisco, LA, New York, where most of the people commute around on foot or mass transit.
Right.
If we can help them to cut the commuting time by half, that's a huge saver for them.
Pedal assist electric bikes are kind of like help you go faster in the bike lane with less effort. This idea is sort of like a walking assist electric shoe to help you go faster just on the sidewalks.
All right, time for one final test. How do these babies hold up to a real professional speed walker?
Dean is a 2-time collegiate national champion speed walker, recently turned pro. Dean, how fast do you typically speed walk a mile?
Around 6 flat.
Speed
These go
walking
7
is in
miles
fact
an hour.
real.
My math is not strong right now, but I'm pretty sure that means you're gonna win. But let's find out.
Yep.
Speed walking
Oh my
is
God,
a
he's so
weird
fast.
sport.
He's so fast.
I will tell you.
I want him steroid tested. All right, so Dean demolished me that time, but you know, these things take a little while to get up to speed, so we're gonna give me a little bit of a handicap to get going. All right, ready? Here I go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm pretty much up to speed. I can feel Dean already breathing down my neck. Walking as fast as I can. Oh, no!
Maybe someday in
He's
the
so
future we're
fast.
gonna watch a video about speed walking because it's so weird.
Oh!
Add it up.
Let's hit the highs and lows. High, these things actually worked a lot better than I expected them to. And they handled some really rough, rutted out terrain. I was shocked at how well they did. Felt like I had superpowers a little bit. It almost felt like I was ice skating over land. These actually felt a lot safer than I expected them to as well. They're really pretty portable. Even if they ran out of batteries, you could just toss them in a backpack. And I like that they're universally chargeable with a USB-C. You just charge them under your desk and you're ready to go home.
Oh, let's go.
They had pretty good stopping power, and I didn't feel like they were just gonna shoot out from under me unexpectedly. They felt very intuitive. They felt like they were gonna do what I wanted them to do, not what they wanted to do. Hopefully nobody hacks them and turns them into rocket shoes. Low, there's still a few comfort things that need to be worked out. These straps really do dig in a little bit, especially if you're wearing lighter weight shoes, and I feel like they need to work on spreading out the pressure on your feet. Weighing in at 4.2 pounds each, you really do feel it with every step.
5
Not so
pounds,
much when
wait.
you're walking and gliding, but when it's powered off in lock mode, going upstairs, that's a real significant weight that you've got under your feet. They're also certainly on the pricey side, which makes them a bit of a luxury item, and that's going to eliminate them for a lot of people. But if you're commuting in them daily, I could see it actually being worth it. Overall, I have to say I really like these things a lot more than I expected to. They were just super fun, and yeah, if I had a pair, I would definitely rock them around town, at least some of the time. With all that being said, I got a little moonwalking to do. Shaman.
Add it up.
I love them because, like, it would be useful for me. I also want to be that one weird person in the airport who's like, who has the weirdest, wildest way to go between, like, the weirdest, wildest way to go in between terminals. Like, oh, do you remember there was like a suitcase that like doubled as an electric scooter? Like, oh my god, there's rideable luggage. I forgot about the rideable luggage. I could just get into, I mean, yeah, you could just get into rollerblading. I love this. This is silly. Oh no, I need to get to my terminal on time. Yum. Yum. Wait, top speed is 10 kilometers an hour? Hold up. Isn't that less than normal walking speed? I just like imagine being that person on the airplane or going to the airplane. I always thought about that. Okay. One last video. I just need to figure out what a good short one is. Let's try a short one. Oh, yeah, actually, no, this one's not. This one's about ice and trying to keep it from expanding like you always thought about, like, when you're young and... Ignore me. I want to ride inside the luggage and drive it like a little car. That'd be funny. Oh, that'd be a cool idea. Okay. Last video for today, okay, everybody? It's about ice and watching ice expand and the power of ice.
That was a big crack. Whoa!
As
What
you can
happens
see.
when you try to contain the expansion of ice inside a steel box? Plan is to weld several steel boxes with different wall thicknesses, fill them with water, and dunk them in negative 320-degree liquid nitrogen. I got the idea for this experiment watching
I'd like to
Ant-Man.
abolish
There's a
ice
scene
and
where he's
I mean,
breaking into
fair.
the safe, and he fills the door with water and liquid nitrogen. It freezes, expands, and busts the door open. Now I have some thoughts on how that would have actually turned out and a way to do it for real, but that's a whole nother video. This video is about seeing if I can contain the power of ice. I also want to see how destructive it can be and observe the different failure modes.
Contain
of the
ice.
steel boxes. Now ice expands 9% of its original volume, and you can visualize it by freezing a pop can. Later in this video, I'm going to test a box with paraffin wax because when it's melted, it expands 15% of its original volume. The wax test will be even more dangerous than the ice because when the box fails, there could be molten wax splashing everywhere. But since this is my first time playing with liquid nitrogen, I want to take a moment to have some fun. I got a bunch of squishy stuff that I think will look really cool shattering in slow-mo. I'm gonna have banana chunks all over my workshop.
Yay, liquid nitrogen fun. Kaboom.
Before I do the real thing, I want to do a small scale test with this pop can and soup can because they're thinner metal. I've chosen these because they're mostly
First time playing with
water.
liquid
First,
nitrogen.
let's
Classic
try
Finding
the
Out
pop
Friday
can.
quote. Yeah, it's a good quote. First time playing with liquid
Now
nitrogen.
we wait.
Ask me anything. Can you stick your hand in it? Probably.
There he goes. Oh, dude. Check.
Oh, actually, fun fact. And I'm going to zoom in for this one because I think it's funny. Did you know? Hey, did you know that you can stick your hand in liquid nitrogen and be okay? For a very short period of time, but you can totally be okay. Why? The Leidenfrost effect. It's real.
That out. This is the can that was in the nitrogen and it split down its side. This is the can that was in the freezer overnight and it swelled and didn't burst. I'm not quite sure what that says about how fast the nitrogen freezes versus in the freezer, but when this burst, there was still liquid inside. And now for the soup can. Now this is a steel can versus the aluminum pop can. Come on, you darn soup can. It might just be a problem of using broth. Yeah, I feel like if that can was full of water, it would have gone by now. Okay, that's it. I'm calling it. It did swell a little bit on the top. Sides aren't swollen. Let's see how much of it froze. I have tools for this. All right. Look at that.
Smell mess with that ice.
Okay, that was super weird with this broth.
Water is the
but not
only liquid that I think
I don't
doesn't.
know. So I happen to have another can. I'm going to throw
that
this in the
doesn't,
freezer, and we'll come back and revisit this later. It turns out there are 15 phases of ice. The normal ice we run into every day is called ice 1, and if you can compress it at 300 megapascals or 43,000 psi, you can keep it from expanding and create what's called ice 2. That pressure needed to keep ice from expanding is insane, and I don't think I'm going to create that with my little steel
Yo,
boxes.
we're getting
Most
sequels to
definitely not with that
ice.
soup can. Weird. Even after a night in the freezer, I got the same result. No expansion. I measured the can before and after freezing it, and it didn't expand really at all. I thought maybe the ripples in the can would stretch out, but that isn't the case. Man, I am so confused. Now I need
What
to
is
weld the
Ice
boxes
12
up.
like?
Now the plan is to
I'm a
weld
little
these steel
scared.
boxes with different wall thicknesses.
Well, we know what Ice 9
I've never
is.
welded something that held water before, and this is kind of pivotal to the project, so we'll see how it goes.
Ice 2.
Before I go any further, let's do a leak check, make sure they hold water. How about that? This is so cool. That's 2 out of 5.
Manly drinking
Are
cups.
you kidding me? Yes! 5 for 5. Watertight vessels. These boxes are gonna have a threaded bung welded on so I can cap them. Before you see what's about to happen, I need to share my predictions. For the thinner steel, I think it might just stretch the whole 9%, similar to hydroforming. Hydroforming is when you use water pressure to form sheet metal. And technically this is hydroforming, just with a different phase of matter. Now for the thicker steel, I think it'll stretch some, but ultimately just tear open along my mediocre welds. The forces involved with ice are pretty insane. I read that back in the 1700s, people were experimenting with freezing water inside metal containers. In 1785, Major Edward Williams of the Royal Artillery in Quebec filled an 1.5-inch thick iron bombshell with water, capped it with a 2.5-pound iron plug, and froze it outside in the winter. He said the ice shot the plug out 400 feet. And if that's true, and knowing it takes 43,000 psi to keep ice from expanding, there could be some serious potential energy built up in these boxes. To get an idea of what will happen, I wanted to try
burst pipes are a problem in any
to my
country.
surprise,
That
I figured it
gets
out.
really
And most
cold.
importantly, the simulation agreed with me, predicting that my little steel boxes, even with 1/4-inch plate, won't be near enough to contain the might of ice. Now there is potential for this to be really dangerous, but since ice is a solid, I don't think it'll explode quite like it would if it was filled with a gas trying to expand rapidly. I am worried, however, that when the steel yields, it might release small fragments that could shoot out with some serious energy. Hence this. I call it the Variable Threat Containment Module. It's a containment box to keep shrapnel and fragments from flying off. It's made of steel plate and bulletproof glass.
dangerous can
I'm not saying it's indestructible, but it should be sufficient.
I had
for
a
this
dangerous
experiment.
can
I'll also
accident
be behind my
where
blast shield, just like the
a
one they
bunch
had
of
on
stuff in my
Mythbusters.
freezer just got covered in very
I'm
sticky
doing my best to
soda.
have
It was
no
the
air
worst.
inside the box.
There's gonna be shards of many things. Yeah, we're treating ice like an SCP. It's in like 2 stages of containment.
Oh, I'm so excited. I already hear cracking. Nitrogen is moving so much because of all the boiling. That's a lot of mass to cool down. It's going to take a
It's
lot of
creaking
nitrogen.
also,
I
which
may
is
have to
terrifying.
refill it. It is starting to swell, and the steel is cracking a bunch. I'm hearing a lot of popping and cracking from the steel. The nitrogen's about
It is
halfway down
terrifying.
now. This is all the nitrogen I have left.
You guys think I could buy liquid nitrogen online and stream it?
I see some flakes of ice in the nitrogen. I think it's probably
Just a
opened
thought.
up and let some ice out. About 13 minutes in.
You think I could stream playing with liquid nitrogen?
Whoa! That was something. That was a big bang. Holy cow, right on the
Oh, it broke
weld,
the
just
seal.
like I was thinking. That's incredible. Look at the shape of the ice inside.
It's all crystally too. It's so cool.
I'm so excited. I've been thinking about what this failure would look like for like 2 months. Look at that. I'm just kidding. The ice structure is so weak. Ow, that is really cold. What a cool desk trophy these are all gonna be.
It's so crystalline in there. It looks really cool.
That first test with this 18-gauge box took 5 liters of nitrogen, which is half of my dewar. That's pretty wasteful, so for the rest, I'm gonna chill them in the freezer for a few hours and then dunk them in nitrogen to freeze them the rest of the way. Okay, this is 1/8-inch steel box. This box chilled in the freezer for 24 hours and it already put a good swell on it. I don't really think the pressure gauge is gonna register with ice, but what the heck. Oh wow, the bottom is really swollen. I still hear a constant rate of cracking. The cracking's getting louder. It should go any minute now. It's about 8 minutes in. The nitrogen's not really boiling much anymore, which tells me that the box might be close to the temperature of the nitrogen. I don't think I'm gonna be able to freeze this anymore. I think it's as much as it is. So I'm gonna pull it out. Man, that is so weird. This one swelled pretty good, but it didn't crack. Now this makes me think that steel embrittlement had a factor in the first cube. I think it's possible the ones I put in the freezer froze fully solid, and the reason they didn't crack could be because they weren't exposed to the nitrogen, introducing steel embrittlement, meaning the nitrogen could have made the steel weaker by making it so cold.
Oh.
So these are the other boxes that have been in the freezer for 24 hours. You can see that they are pretty swollen, but they didn't rupture. I'm gonna try letting them thaw out. Now that they've thawed and I've refilled them to the brim with water, I'm gonna try them in the nitrogen. This is 1/8" steel box. I already hear crackling. We're like 30 seconds in.
I hate the time lapse so much, it just like spans slowly.
Okay. Doesn't look like it's cracked at all, but it's mega stretched out.
It's like the world's worst balloon.
What if I drop it? 3, 2, 1.
Oh.
This is the 1/4" steel box. Starting to hear cracking 2.5 minutes in. This is the thickest one. I'm so excited to see how violently it breaks. That was a big crack. Whoa! Holy crap!
Exploding.
What? Yeah! That's a result! That was just as violent as I had ever hoped for. Holy crap, do you see the thing jump? Look at how little the steel moved
I wonder where it
relative
broke.
to how violent the result was.
Oh my
Man,
god.
hot diggity. What a beautiful result. It split straight down the weld. It seems like 1/8" was a Goldilocks thickness for this test. Thick enough to not tear, but thin enough to stretch. Look at how swollen this thing is. None of the other boxes swelled on the top here where the bung is. It's amazing. These results are so interesting. The thin one totally gave up. The medium one was a champ and just stretched a bunch. And the thick one put up a good fight, but failed violently. I've still got one more test to do with the box of wax. And remember, wax expands even more than ice. But before I get to that, I want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Online Metals. They're a great resource to get metals and plastics. In fact, I've used their materials for many of my past projects, including the home run machine, the blast shield, and the coffin table. They have a fantastic website to order from, along with several locations across the US. Big thank you to
You guys just want to buy some metal online? I want to buy tungsten cube, honestly. What if I bought a tungsten cube?
As a reminder, paraffin wax expands 15% of its original volume compared to the 9% of ice. It should have a bit more energy, and when the box fails, molten wax
What's so
will
special
spread
about a
everywhere,
coffin table,
and
though?
because
I don't
the
know.
flash
It
point
looked
is
cool.
380 degrees, there's a chance we might have a fire. Okay, this is paraffin wax in an 1/8" steel box on an electric burner. I'm gonna try and preheat the top of the box with a blowtorch. 8 minutes in. And
Okay, so this is
swelling
now
yet.
doing the
Starting to
opposite.
Smoke now. There's some residual wax on top of the box, and I think it's starting to burn off. 14
That'd be
minutes
me.
in,
I like to buy
it's
one
starting to
metal,
swell
please. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Oh.
It should all be melted inside by now. It looks about as.
This
full
is
as
the worst
same
version
box
of
as
cooking
ice.
I've ever
You can see
seen.
A bunch of wax has oozed out off the burner onto the floor. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is a pinhole leak on the back right corner. I can see it bubbling on the burner. No, I think it's just the rain hitting the burner. Oh.
I like how he turned away. It's just,
It's
oh.
on fire.
It's on
Okay,
fire.
So a 1,000-degree burner is enough of an ignition source to light wax on fire. I've never used a fire extinguisher. Well, that was pretty crazy. It looks like it's
Oh,
just about
look how
as
much it's
as the
expanded.
same size box did with ice. After
This
looking
dude's
at it
cooking's
closely, it looks like
terrible,
it might have
dude.
cracked right around the weld at the bung. It wasn't as explosive a result as I was hoping, but if you want to see more crazy experiments just like this one, you can click right here, and I'll see you on the next one.
I made a cool, funny cube. Thanks for watching. I mean, I don't blame him for being like, what others? Hold on. I haven't seen this guy's content, so I want to see. He's like, step here, launch 20 feet. That's, oh my. What does it take to rip a car door off? Have I found the fastest air cannon valve? Testing the worst ways to unclog a toilet. I feel like we need to watch more of this guy's like stuff because this seems just wild. Putting toothpaste back in the tube. Making a dynamite plunger. Making a knife gun. Oh my god. DIY. Some of these are like safe. It was like, look what I made. Look what I made. Look what I made. Look what I made. I made a device that shoots knives at people. And then it just kind of goes into unhinged territory from there. Anyway, I think we're done for the day. We all got to go to bed. So, thank you guys very much for enjoying. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I did. Because, I mean, who doesn't have fun with this stuff? Education's fun, guys. I'm here to show you guys education's fun. And it's all you need is all you need is a cool teacher, and I'm pretty sure I'm the coolest teacher you could ever get. So, let's see who we can send you guys over to. Looking through my followers. Quiet, hoy! Hello! Oh no. Yeah, you caught us at the bad time. We're at the end, homie. Alright, you know what? I'm going to send you guys over to a friend of mine. Very cool, very technical-minded. Maluski. They do cool stuff. They're currently playing Elden Ring. Make sure to cheer them on and stuff. And be nice, of course. With something glass and explosion behind your captions. I feel like I need to make that. I'm going to make that. I hope so. Anyway, we're going to raid Maluski. This is the first time I've actually ever done this, so be nice, of course. Don't say anything mean. I will see you guys on Tuesday with the rest of my stream. Have a stream schedule. Have a good rest of your day. Make sure you guys save before you go. Have a good one. Bye.